to the Princess Summit, where we address the complex political issues facing our kingdoms.
Hairstyles!
Talking pets! Hairstyles for our talking pets!
Crabs! I've got crabs. Well, isn't that just, And where's our newest princess?
Sorry I'm late. I killed a boar on the way here.
Oh, you're so feminist and empowered. Great.
Hey, wee beastie! Have we got to grievances yet? A bunch of wee dwarves are illegally mining me territory.
Oh, Merida, you have far bigger problems. Let me tell you about them.
Not a dumb song.
Here's a list of things to drop. Your accent bow, that tangled mop. 15 pounds from off your hips. Those ginger afros neath your pits. And no prince will want to mingle with a girl with no hit single.
And your pet's hair is a disaster. That's me mother. She's a bear. The trailer was very misleading.
I am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
Spider Knight?
Alas, friend Spider-Man, by what sorcery doth small ceiling torch shine forth?
It's called a light bulb.
Welcome to Prattle World. I am your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan. And in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. And welcome to Spider Knights of the Round Table, where my guest and I attempt to answer a question without an obvious answer in a round table format. Or square table, or coffee table, rectangular, rhombus, you decide, whatever kind of table you might have. But we are here today, and this is a long-awaited podcast, 2 years in the making. That's how long it's been since we podcasted together. I'm here with Natalie Hitchen, Angry Andy Reviews, cooler other half, better other half, better half.
Absolutely. Yeah, better half, definitely a better half.
Better half, less angry half, or more angry half. You decide.
Depends what kind of day we're having.
We don't know. We don't know where this podcast is going to lead. We don't know what I'm going to say, which I might piss off not only myself but all the feminists and all the world. So
you're fine. That's why I'm here.
That's it. You just call me out. Just call me out on any offensive things I may say, and we're going to see. But we are talking about feminism, but not it's not just a talk about feminism. We're using the telescope of Disney to tell this tale, to ask this particular question, which I have worded very, very carefully as not to offend anybody. So I'm calling this podcast Disney's Unorthodox Feminist Icons. Are Disney's female antagonists a better representation of the feminist ideal than their protagonists? So, Natalie, you have posed this question. Before we go into the question itself, and we're going to discuss all the Disney antagonists, just tell us, just briefly, what feminism means to you, what you think it represents, what is the feminist ideal?
Because this is a hard one, because you can't really say it for everybody, because my ideas are obviously different to everyone else's.
Of course.
And being a really hard question, I think for me, it's more kind of the equality side of it. I'm very kind of like, yes, everyone should be treated equally, but I also get annoyed when men aren't treated equally as well. Like, I don't get the whole, men are evil. Like, that's too extreme for me. I'm very kind of like, let's just treat each other nicely and equally and have the same kind of ideals and stuff, and then everything will be fine.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's fair. I mean, like feminism, if we're describing it quite literally, it's feminism is to be treated fairly and equally as much as men are. I think for me, being a man, I'll tell you what actually feminism is.
Do what it's like.
I'll tell you. I'll let me tell you how to do it. So I believe feminism is, again, very much about equality. I think background, skin color, religion, whatever, equality. Everyone should be treated fairly, no matter where you're from, who you are. Everyone should be treated fairly. But I think mainly for me, it's about, again, that equality and the equality of opportunity as well. Like, letting women have their own opportunities and having the ability to ascend or to do whatever they want, where they want it, however they want to do it. If that's to be a mum, great. You're empowered. If you want to show off your body, great, that's empowering. If you don't want to show off your body, if you want to be a bit more conservative, that is empowering. And I think it's respecting those decisions and those choices as well, like to let women do what they want, when they want, how they want to do it, be who they are, and be respected for that, I think.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's exactly that. I think like a big part of it is kind of where we want to be at the stage where people don't feel scared walking down the street and stuff. Like, absolutely. I think that's like if you look at kind of, I don't know about statistic wise, but it's like a vast majority of like girls from being when you hit puberty of all kind of experience some kind of sexual assault. Like it's scary that happens, and it's kind of
terrifying.
It is. And I think a massive part of this as well is education. Like it's a huge part of it. So like the way that it's treated in schools, the way that it's the same in it. It's kind of like home, like, and how it's addressed in the home and all that kind of stuff. There's all this kind of like, even when you're in a partnership and looking at kind of the emotional load of like what you're dealing with, like the stuff that you're physically dealing with, and then the stuff that, because women's minds kind of work differently, and we're always thinking about, oh, I'll do this while I'm doing that and all the rest of it, and it's taking all that on board. And yeah, I think it's like a massive part of it is kind of education wise and being able to understand each other a lot more and not treating each other like shit, basically.
Well, I mean, I had a little bit of a kickback from a previous guest and their spouse about this particular topic, because I told them, I said, I promoted it, I said we were doing it, and they were like, well, why are you talking about feminism? Like, why do you have to always bring it up, and why do you have to do this? And I'm like, but we do, if we don't remember the mistakes of the past, we're doomed to repeat them. We need to talk about this stuff. Just even recently, the head of the police, who is a woman, said, if after the murder of that young lady by a police officer, the rape and murder of that young woman, oh, this is serious, isn't it? This is a discussion about Disney, and we're getting right into it. Way serious. But
needs to be though. It's like,
but the head of police, she's a woman, and she said, if you're afraid of a policeman, just jump on a bus.
Fucking ridiculous. Sorry for swearing.
No, go ahead. It is fucking ridiculous. It absolutely is. It's
like, I'm not being funny though, but like, I don't know. I never really consider myself very kind of like, feminism. Yeah. But then I do read like feminist books from time to time. So I've read one that's like called Invisible Women, and it's nuts. So that goes, it's very kind of essay based, statistic based, and all the rest of it, and the research that they do behind it to say like, actually, if there was more lighting and more security cameras and more like, there's like actual things that you put in place, then the crime in general will drop. Yeah. And the crime and sexual assault and all the rest of it against women in turn will drop. And it's just not, and it infuriates me. It's
sickening. It is genuinely
like the fact that you're telling people to jump on a bus is like, what the hell? The fact that you can get in a taxi and you need to fake phone calls to people, that's like, and it's not just women, it could be men that have to do this as well. And like, I think, again, that's another thing. And it's kind of like, we shouldn't have to be doing that. Like, we should all just be decent fucking human beings, not treat each other like shit, and not prey on people, which is never going to happen. But the more that we call it out, then the better. And the more that people do realise that, no, you shouldn't be. Sorry, there's a puppy outside. I just really got distracted by a puppy.
You can't be angry at men when there's a cute.
Oh my god, I can't be angry at men.
Can't be angry at the patriarchy when there's a cute puppy.
Literally, the next door neighbour's son's got a puppy.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure we'll be getting on to cute puppies and the skinning of cute puppies very soon.
Oh no, not the skinning of them.
We've got to talk about it.
God damn it!
She's on the list. She's on the list. But
yeah, literally walked past with it in a blanket and everything, and it looked really cute.
But my friend Ria Carrigan has an amazing podcast called Fem on Film. Definitely get on that, guys. I'm going to leave a link in the show notes if you haven't listened to it already. And she talks about how, men are also victims of the patriarchy and the beauty kind of standards that are so high for men and women as well, and what we expect, and this kind of the world we live in. And and absolutely. And I feel like I've been damaged by that and those kind of like expectations. And we can talk about that in regards to the Disney film with the kind of, expectations of the Prince Charming, so to speak, and things. There's also that kind of closeting of young women and the protection of young women, again, which will feed into our discussion a little bit later. Like I remember I dated a Muslim lady a few years ago, and she was 21, but she was very sheltered in her community and by her parents. And she considered me like Prince Charming. That was like her favorite story. And I was like, trust me, I ain't no Prince Charming. Like,
very high pedestal.
I was like, I'm not even charming, really, let alone a prince. And it didn't end. She was very naive, and she was lovely. She was gorgeous and an amazing person, but it was just so odd. And I think I found out later there was the immaturity kind of fed into why it kind of fell apart. And unfortunately, but again, that's the way she's been brought up. It's the way she was raised. And again, not saying that all Muslim communities are like this or all Muslim families are like this, but this particular one was very much so. And I found out later on down the line that she was there was an arranged marriage to her cousin.
Oh, wow.
And she said no, and they pulled her out of university.
No way.
Yeah. So now she was just stuck at home, again, more sheltered than she ever was, if anything. So
like the cultural side of it is like the scariest side of it. Like, and it's weird, isn't it? Because we have like all this stuff of like tradition and all the rest of it, and tradition is just acting the way we acted hundreds of years ago. And like, no wonder we're still like
slavery was a tradition.
Well, this is it, isn't it? Like, no wonder we're still all these years later and trying to smash through and trying to do all this stuff about equality and all this stuff about feminism, and racism is constantly in the news, and animal cruelty and all the other stuff. And it's just like, no.
Oh God, that video recently from the footballer.
Raging.
Disgusting.
Absolutely raging. The fact that he just got a fine as well, like he was.
Can't believe that.
Still on just nuts. Like, but we're still having to do this, and it's a lot of it. Again, it's like education based, and like, oh, that's the way it's always been. And this is the way it should be, and it's questioning all that now and being like, well, should it? And why do we deal with that? And like, why do we act like this?
And I think tradition is a tricky one as well, because that comes into like, depictions of races in films or in pantomimes, for example, and things like that. It's come up in my acting career. There's been challenges and things that have occurred in my acting career. I won't go into it right now, but that's a long story, and another podcast could be full of my acting career and all the fucking shit I was supposed to do or was asked to do. Tradition is linked, I think, to a lot of people's like fondest memories. So obviously you look back with rose-tinted glasses, and you look back and you go, that time was great, or I enjoyed that time, or that was a brilliant time for me. And you link that to that. And I think you go, well, it's tradition, so it should always be because it's always been. But then we need to sometimes challenge those traditions, and challenge why or what is appropriate, what isn't appropriate. And again, this comes whole hog into the Disney thing as well. It's very easy for something to become tradition and to become like religious dogma. Like, this is the way it is. There's no way to change it. We can't alter it. This is the way it's always been done. So this is the way it should always be done.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think a lot of it is kind of perspective on it as well. Of like, there is times that you should be able to look back and be like, "Oh my God, this has been done in the past." But then again, like, why was it done like that? Is there a reason for it? Obviously, times have changed. Like, times have changed in the past 15 years. Never mind back
5 years, even 5 years.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. They've been calling out for Friends and stuff to get cancelled on Netflix and things like that. Like, a massive change.
For me, in regards to things that are inappropriate that were made years ago, I don't believe that we should edit and alter and censor things like that personally, but I can see why people ask for it. I get it, but I think there should be a statement at the front of it. Yeah, basically just going, times have changed. Yeah, things in this was made a long time ago. Things in here will be considered offensive. Please be warned. And then you've got your kind of, and this is what Idris Elba said on the topic as well. Actually, he said, "Don't alter it because we need to remember these things.
Yeah,
we need to see these things."
Yeah, it's so I was watching Gold because everyone loves a bit of gold, but because as a child, I remember sitting down watching Porridge with my dad, and Porridge is like, I remember like my dad just absolutely being in stitches with it, and like so. when I was watching it, so it was funny, and you kind of go back, and I still find like bits of it funny now. But when you are watching it on Gold, that is exactly what they do, is they put a thing up to say times have changed, and this is what was considered funny at the time. And it's knowing that, and then looking at it being like, oh, like there's some episodes of The Simpsons now where you look back and that was like 80s, 90s, and you think, oh, that's a bit.
I was at the gym. I was at the gym the other day, and they do the Krusty the Clown, where he's getting back into comedy, and he does the whole Chinese bit, the offensive Chinese bit, and everyone's like, and obviously in that episode, it's played that is offensive at that time to do that, but it was still playing, and I was like, oh my God, I mean, they can still play this on like regular TV. Obviously, it's within the context of the show. Yeah. I know there's certain, obviously there's situations where you wouldn't say words or show images, no matter what the context. You know, even Jimmy Carr recently is in trouble with his
Netflix.
With his Netflix special. But I mean, it's not a fucking funny joke anyway. So for a start, it's not funny. So what does that leave? It's just offensive. So, you know, I kind of don't blame people being angry at that, because I like offensive humor. Like, I do enjoy some offensive humor and some dark comedy. But if it's not funny or there's nothing in there, you're just being offensive. What's the point of just being offensive?
That's it, isn't it? I think it's more the shock factor, is people like, and comedians have always done it in the past, haven't they? They've done that kind of, oh my God, like, are they allowed to say that? But then, it's getting it right for the audience that it's intended for as well. I can understand why people get angry at stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But again, there might be some people out there that think it's absolutely hilarious, and like,
you know, we're two kind of white people, so we can't really say what in regards to those type of things, what offends us, what doesn't. You as a woman, you can say what offends you in regards to the patriarchy and the way women are treated, absolutely. But I think, that's not for us to decide. We're not going to solve racism, and that's not what this podcast is all about. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. Why did you want to ask this question? So why do you think the quote unquote Disney villains are a better representation of feminism than the heroines, quote unquote?
I love how you spent ages like rewording my question that was basically
now no one understands it now.
I know, it's basically
but that's
Disney
me
villains.
that's me trying not to be cancelled as well.
Dan's trying to not get cancelled by having me come on and be like, why are the Disney villains better than the Disney princess?
So the only good feminist is a Disney villain. Are you saying all good feminists are villains? You know, I was like, I didn't want to. I'm very cautious. I'm very careful. But
I know you are. Do you know what though? I think you think about what makes a villain, like in the majority of the Disney kind of franchise films, right? And if we think back, so I'm going to go Sleeping Beauty first. So we're going to talk, because you want to talk about Maleficent, obviously, because she's the queen of all the villains. So Maleficent obviously risen up the ranks and got an army for a start. So she's the head of an army. And when do you see that? When was it brought out? In like the
50s, 50s, I think.
Something like that. Yeah. So the fact that you've got a female head of an army that lives, all right, fair enough, she lives in a mountain. She calls people imbeciles and idiots all the time, which I absolutely love. I love the fact that she calls people that. Fools is another one as well.
But again, like from what we can see, all of her minions are male.
Exactly. So she's in charge of this male-dominated army. There's no other kind of, and then she gets treated horribly by normal society. So why, like, in fairness, I'd rage a war if people were giving me a lot of shit just because I lived in a mountain somewhere. It's just weird, isn't it? Like, I think she's definitely she's risen to it. She's obviously risen. She's gone from being like unknown to people literally. I mean, I'm not saying that you should fear women. Or maybe you should. Who knows?
I think a better word is respect.
Yeah.
You want respect, not fear. It's a very different thing.
It's a very different thing. And I think that's a big part of it. Like, she's the only... So, like, let's look at the beginning of the film. So a new princess is born in a different land, and loads of people are invited to come and wish blessings on this princess. I'd also be pissed off if you had a friend, Dan, and all of your other friends were allowed to go around to their house when the baby was born and be like, oh, and you were the only person to not get an invite, would it piss you off?
Absolutely.
And if you had an army underneath you and you owned technically your own bit of country, I'm guessing, would you not then be like, they obviously don't want to be at peace with me because this is like an insult, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like old-timey kind of war-y.
But it can go into, I'm sure we'll go into this a little bit later, but because she's on the fringes of society, she's not what is perceived as normal. Whatever the perceived quote unquote normal is, she lives effectively on her own. She doesn't have a partner. If you're a mature woman, you're not married. What use have you got in society? Like you live up, you're effectively a goth as well, if you will. Effectively a goth. So again, that's she's not the prim proper lady. She dresses in black. It's almost like another thing with the lady the Muslim lady I went out with. She was like, I need to be married by the time I'm 25 or something, she told me. And I was like, well, what happens in your culture, in that society, that particular subset of your society, the Muslim society? What happens to those women that aren't? And they went, we'll just become like old hags. And I was like, fucking hell.
25, that's no age.
I'm pretty sure she said 25. Could have been younger.
God.
And I was just like, that's scary. That straight away they're just written off. They're no longer of value once you've reached a certain age, or once you've reached, maybe birth giving age or something, or the looks are going. And again, that's the theme. The whole beauty and age thing is a theme throughout all these Disney villains as well.
Yeah. It's Disney, like everyone looks pretty and all the rest of it. And if you don't look pretty, then you're either a lesser character or you are the villain.
When I was watching it back and she goes, "Oh, Prince, now you shall face me and all the powers of hell," I was like, fuck yeah. What a metal.
Such a good line.
Absolute fucking metal line for a Disney film. Like, I was just like,
and the fact that it's given to a female character as well, like, it just lands so well. Like, I think you look, right, okay, so in contrast, let's look at Aurora. She's blessed by 3 fairies. What is it? She looks pretty, she sounds pretty, and then Maleficent comes in and curses her, and then the last one goes, oh, you'll not die, you'll just go to sleep. And the good fairy's not as strong as Maleficent either. So we're obviously we're not talking about the live action ones here, because that's
no,
completely different tangent. And then she goes and lives in a wood where she sings to animals and stuff. And then she meets a boy. Like, there's nothing else to. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm being brought up by 3 women. That's obviously got to be very kind of empowering and stuff. And like, they've gone from giving up all the magic as well. So they've had to teach themselves how to like sew and knit. Like, she's clothed when we meet her, so I'm guessing that they've like learned how to do all these things.
I'll be honest, Sleeping Beauty, I think, is one of the more beautifully animated Disney films. It's so sharp.
If I looked like that when I was 16, are you kidding? Are you shitting me? Like,
they would have to hide you away in the woods.
I'd be like, what? Look at the state. Like, she changes little. It's just ridiculous. And in fairness, if you look at kind of all the ages, they're all very kind of, the princesses are all very, very sexed up for their ages.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're all supposed to be like 16, 18 and stuff. And it's just, God, when I was 16, I looked like, I don't even know.
I don't even look that great now. Like
well, yeah. I keep saying that I'm getting better with age, but I'm not too sure about that.
Like a fine wine. But yeah, I think Maleficent is one of the better designed characters as well, because I think when we think of like the old witches and the sorceresses, we don't think of this kind of slim, debonair, wonderfully dressed, stylish woman. Who holds that power. She's like with the Angelina Jolie version or the animated version, the eyes are on her. Like, or like you can't take your eyes off her. And almost the film is a lesser film when she's not in it. Like it's not a bad film in any way. I quite like it. It moves quite pacey as well. It's quite a pacey film. My least favorite scenes are probably, again, going into the patriarchy. It's the kings going, right, let's get our young'uns. Let's get them shagging. Let's get them shagging. Come on.
I know. It's I mean, you kind of like, you look at it. I mean, whenever it's set in 16, whatever, like probably before that, it's like, get them together and we'll join our kingdoms and this will happen. And it's
quite similar to the scenes in Cinderella as well. And it's very much like, well, we have to have a marriage. This is tradition. And
But maybe that's like, in fairness, though, you'd think about when it come out, maybe that's why people started thinking, oh, actually, Sleeping Beauty's 16 and getting married off. Like, and was that what was happening back in the day as well? Like, I mean, in fairness, if Disney made a film now about a 34-year-old unmarried woman, would it, but like, it's got to relate to kind of, I mean, Sleeping Beauty is so pretty. I don't think anyone related to that when it was prior, being like, oh.
Now here's a question. Now, in most Disney media, the princesses tend to have a dead mum.
Okay.
So Sleeping Beauty does have a live mum. Like she's alive, but she has no say in this story. Like she's got nothing to do, nothing to say. She's basically there. I've had the baby. That's it.
So she tries to stop Maleficent. She goes, "Oh, I'm really sorry we've offended you."
That was
and then that's it. You'd never see her again. I don't feel like Disney knew what to do with mothers. Like, it's weird, isn't it? Like, it just
seems to be a standard kind of trope that they keep doing. But
yeah,
I think there's been an argument. I've been doing some reading up on this, and I think there's an argument saying that if the mother was there would be no kind of flaws or holes in the main character.
In the main one.
So there would be no story, arguably.
But for the sake of Sleeping Beauty, she just gets taken away from her mother.
Yeah.
Maybe telling her, like, if you'd have told Aurora that she couldn't go back to a certain thing, like, you do have parents and they are alive, but we can't go back there until after. With that, mind you, that just completely you'll have no story.
Yeah.
So there you go. But there'd still be an evil witch coming for her.
There's still, Well, I was going to say, like, the driving force of this story, the main focal point of this story is Maleficent.
Yeah.
If there's no Maleficent, there's no story. So she's effectively the protagonist in a way.
Yeah.
That she becomes the focal point. Like, it all revolves around her.
But again, though, which is why she's a really strong character. Like, I think you have to make her like that. Like, I remember watching it for the first time when you were really young and thinking, oh, like, it's terrifying. When she turned into a dragon, absolutely terrified me. I was like, oh my God.
I was going to say, like, when I was a kid, that really fucked me up. Like,
and then like, you watch it back now and it's one of probably the best sequences of the film, of being like, oh, that's actually really amazing. And the prince with his lucky shot in the heart, like, that's ridiculous. Like, you try throwing a sword at a dragon.
And like getting it all the way through the
like, he must have some force behind it.
I mean, is he like 16? Is he about the same age? Because
he's possibly around about the same age. Like, I think in Disney World they're the same age. I'm not sure about the
real life.
The actual fairy tale.
To be honest, when I was a 16-year-old, I had a very strong throwing arm as well. Like, just for other reasons, you know. just one massive arm, like a quagmire huge arm. You know, it just comes out of nowhere. Sleeping Beauty is one of my favorites. Absolutely, it holds up to this day. There's obviously been a lot of talk recently about Sleeping Beauty in schools, the book being in schools, and about the question of consent of her being kissed while she's asleep.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I get that. I get the whole kind of consenty stuff. Again, you watching a cartoon, it's a case of having that conversation. Like, it sounds really bad.
Yeah.
It sounds really bad.
Yeah.
Like, and again,
to be fair, they'd already met. They're obviously clearly.
They had already met, and they were in love.
I will say this. He was a bit grabby. He's a little bit grabby. He's like, oh, don't leave. Oh, where are you going? Oh, let me sing with you. I know you. You know, all that. He's like, okay, bit odd, because some of the blokes do, like, when I was watching them back, I was like, some of this is a little creepy from the blokes. Like, the blokes just.
Do you know what though? That's like, it sounds really, really bad though, because that's what it can be like though. Like, the advances that you get, and all right, she was kind of doing the whole, oh, I'm interested, but I'm not really interested. There's like a little bit of a chase going on and all the rest of it. Like, it's got like, and it happens to girls in real life. You're like, no, you're okay. And like, you can be doing it. Like, sometimes it happens when you go in, oh, I'm going to play a little bit hard to get, and see her actually like back from when I was, when me and Andy were getting together. And I think I was like, no. I was like, no, for a full year. And then changed my mind and was like, yeah, go on then. But
he'll do.
But yeah, Andy wasn't,
the Disney love story. He'll do.
Andy wasn't as what is it, persistent. He probably gave up on me at one point, and then after he gave up on me, I went, yeah, go on, we'll give him a try and see how it gets on.
All right, fair enough. I will say this as well about the original Sleeping Beauty, and I think we'll talk about the Jolie one after this.
Yeah.
She has almost no screen time, but she, again, is the key component of the film, is the most memorable thing about the film, and is the best character in the film. Like,
absolutely.
The impression, and again, when you think of Disney villains, that's the one you go to. You go for this. You go straight to that image of her.
She is the queen of them all. Like, she's original, like 101. You think of a Disney villain, you think you've got to think
straight away.
You?
I think you either go for the, I think it's Queen Grimhilda or the evil queen from Snow White, or you go for Maleficent. I think those are the top two ones you immediately think of. I will say this: she's not completely cold and evil, and in that film, because her crow gets turned to stone.
And that's she's gutted. Love that crow. Yeah,
absolutely
she's like proper. I mean, I'd lose it, like, because we all know the story with the dogs and stuff. And again, if someone tried to hurt one of the animals or anything like that, and it's like maternal instinct. It's like proper maternal instinct.
Yeah, of course it is.
You spend time with this thing, and she calls it a pet. She's like, come on, my pet, and obviously gives it little like jobs to do and stuff, and he's very loyal. So the fact that it's now
he finds Sleeping Beauty, because all the other idiots are still looking for a baby 16 years old, which I love.
Which is
like, idiots,
all the cradle. I used to love that bit when I was
cradle. Yeah, I love that. It's great, and it's brilliant. It's got everything you want. It's got magic. It's got romance. It's got great music. You know, I Know You is a fucking great song. Like, it's just brilliant.
I love that song.
do
you know what bit that I absolutely love more than anything is when the prince is riding through the forest, and then he just gets taken off his horse.
Yeah,
and he lands in the. For some reason, that bit, even from being little, I was just like, brilliant. And then he goes, no carrots, and like splashes it off.
I think that horse reminds me a lot of the horse in Tangled as well. It's got a lot of character to it.
Yeah, it does look a little bit like Maximus. You know, where you got the whole like animals look like their owners, because I feel like he kind of looked like the prince as well. You kind of like, you can kind of see that.
It's all right. Let's talk about the Angelina Jolie version, because this is a real kind of twist on the tail, so to speak. So we get a little bit more of a backstory for Maleficent. So do you want to talk about that?
I do. So I really like this film. I like the first 3/4 of this film.
Okay.
So I like the fact that it's a twist on the original. I like the fact that there's a relationship between Maleficent and Aurora. There's the whole there's a scene in there where she gets her wings cut off, and it's the representation of rape and all this other stuff.
Oh yeah, I was going to say
really dark side. Like,
very date rapey. That very date rapey.
Like really, it's like, and you watch it. Because I remember reading something about it before we were watching it at the cinema, and then watching it and being like, oh right, Jesus, like that. And for a Disney film, it's very like, and again, this is kind of, as much as you read into Disney, like, people will watch the films and they'll sit there and be like, oh, it's all right, it's a Disney film. But then, like, if you really look at kind of the effort that they put into some of the storylines or some of the stuff that they do, like the work that goes in behind it, or just us and the way our minds work and overthink everything, like, everyone gets something different when it comes back. I think I do like, I'm not gonna lie, I do really like it. The thing that I don't like is we didn't get a dragon at the end of it.
You do, but it's not her.
It's not her.
No.
Like, she doesn't unleash all the forces of hell.
No, yeah, all the powers of hell. Well, do we think that maybe that was a choice because maybe women can often be described as old dragons and things like that? Maybe
I don't know. I feel it to me, it felt like it took some of her power away. Like, why can't she be this all powerful? Like, you've got. If you look at Jafar, he literally, by the end of Aladdin, he's like, oh, phenomenal cosmic power. Why the hell can't you do that in a live action thing with Maleficent? Like,
with the live action spoiler, we're going to be discussing spoilers for Disney films, by the way. If you've never seen a fucking Disney film in your life, with Disney Plus now having everything, Jafar doesn't even turn into a snake in the live action Aladdin, which is the coolest fucking bit. He just makes a Iago massive, And I was just like, what is this bullshit?
Okay, so this is the reason. So you can talk about Maleficent because I watched 1 and 2 of that.
Okay.
I've stopped watching the live action stuff because it's either just a full remake with some extra bits in.
Pointless extra bits.
Which is like Beauty and the Beast is a very prime example of this.
Oh, I hate that one. Oh. I could talk for days how bad that is.
Yeah. So I think a lot of this though is like we're old school, Dan. We're like we were around when the originals came out, or like we had access to the VHSs from like Beauty and stuff. I feel like it is taking it away from your childhood. It's like it'll never be as good. But then I can't watch Aladdin because I walked into my brother's house and they had it on the TV, and Will Smith was singing Prince Ali. And Will Smith is a rapper, and that song was so slow and so not
auto-tune.
Oh my God, like auto-tune is not Robin Williams. Like I couldn't from that I was like, I am now done with live action. Like I can't do it anymore. Yeah, and that's just my personal opinion, isn't it? Some people watch it and like the kids watch it and they think it's absolutely amazing, and I'm like, that's fine.
That's what they've grown up with. That's
their version of it.
Their generation's version of it. Yeah, sure.
And it might be that maybe times have changed. Maybe kids can't watch the cartoon. Like you look at actual cartoon ones. The last actual cartoon one was Princess and the Frog.
Oh, I love that. It's
such a good film. But like all the rest of them are kind of like these Pixar kind of new age Disney kind of things, or the live action stuff. So maybe that's like the way that the world's going. But I love sitting and watching all the cartoony stuff, and I can still sit there and watch it. And I don't know. I just think it's a bit weird. So the fact that we're doing spoilers is fine.
Yeah, I should have said it at the start, but yeah, we if we're going to discuss in full Disney villains,
we've only done Sleeping Beauty, and it was if that's been brought out in the 60s, then and you've not watched it by this point.
Yeah, come on. Even half of it, like there's only a few that have been released in the last few years, I think maybe to touch on, but even then. But do you think the idea of releasing Maleficent's wings at the end and her getting them back was to maybe give Sleeping Beauty herself a bit more agency?
Maybe. Like it's a very prominent point, isn't it? Like
she's got no agency in that first one, really.
No, she's just a bit of a follower, isn't she? There's no kind of like, maybe if she'd have turned her into an apprentice and was like teaching her all the magic and stuff, that could have made her even more kind of. And there's like the maternal instinct of trying to protect her and trying to not get her to stab herself in the finger and all of that stuff, but she was too late.
Yeah,
I like the twist.
She regrets it. I like her. What does she keep calling her? Like a little thing or a little. What does she call her? She got like a little nickname for her, a little beast or something like that. Yeah, something like that. It's kind of like a little sweet nickname, but not at the same time.
Beastie.
But
something along them lines.
But I think we've learned the lesson that if you're not invited to a party, infanticide straight away. Just kill the baby. Yeah. Straight away. Yeah. That's the first protocol. Kill that baby.
Kill the baby.
But in this modern version, she does change her mind, doesn't she? It's not the fairies that change, because they're pixies, aren't they? Because Maleficent is a fairy and they're pixies, so it's a bit different. But she changes her mind. She says, "Oh well, she won't be dead, but she will sleep forever."
Which is, I mean, I suppose it's good. And then you've got kind of the whole. I think Disney's getting better at the kind of like they did it with Frozen. They've done it with Maleficent with the kind of
true love's kiss.
Yeah, because it wasn't the man. It turned out, actually, it was Maleficent because she's been, and again, like there's no greater true love than a maternal figure, and she essentially became Aurora's mum for the entire.
That happens in Enchanted as well, doesn't it? It's not who she thinks it is. That the prince she's supposed to be in love with is actually the other guy.
Actually, the other guy.
But yeah, I know it's not a woman, but it's slightly. They played with it slightly.
Yeah, I think they're getting away from that whole kind of like instant. Like for love at first sight stuff, like we all know, like
because it's not realistic.
Well, I don't know. When you're 16, though, it kind of is. Like
true, yeah.
You think about it, it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Like Romeo and Juliet kind of stuff. It's like when you're in love, like even earlier than that.
I can't see you. I've got to kill myself.
Yeah. Please don't. Please don't be like them people.
Right.
Please don't. There's other people out there.
we do like to retell that tale, though. We do like to keep telling that story over and over again. We can't be together, so we have to die.
You do, but you see it a lot, though, don't you? Like you think back, like at school and at college, and there was always like that couple that had been together for like a month, and you're like, oh my god, they've been together forever, and then they break up. And then like the girls are always in school crying their eyes out in the toilets. The lads are like going on to the next con. Like it's.
Well, I'm going to disagree with that from a male perspective.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Because that's what you want to hear about on a feminist podcast, the male perspective on love. I think what happens is that the women, are more emotionally intelligent than men and can deal with it that much quicker and get all the crying out there and then, and like in a short space of time. And I think with the blokes, they're like, I'm fine. I don't have any emotions. I'm all right. I'm tough. I'll go on to the next bird. And then they actually are fucking devastated, and it only really hits them. And they spend a longer time kind of getting over that.
I've read that somewhere that like women. So you think about, say you were going out for like a year, it takes the women like 3 months. So from the off, it's kind of like, oh my God. And then like, say you get all you kind of crying out and emotionally deal with it. And then the blokes seem to take 6, 9, 12 months to get over like that relationship. Like if
maybe longer in my
is it, but
my personal experience.
Why is that?
Why am I still sad? Why am I still thinking about this?
But is it that you put it out of your mind earlier on and you try and distract yourself with other stuff, or is it like do you feel like you can? I
think it might be the kind of the whole going back to the whole patriarchy thing. I think there is very much like there's pressure on young women to be sexual, but I think there's pressure on men to be sexual as well, to be like, I've got to bang all these girls, and if I'm not banging, like when I was, spoilers, but I didn't lose my virginity till I was 21.
Oh wow!
I was a late
everything.
I was a late bloomer, believe it or not, even though I am so ridiculously handsome. But like there was a lot of pressure, and even going back to what we were talking about earlier about the Muslim girl I dated for a little while. There was pressure. There's a lot of pressure on blokes to be sexually active. And if you're not sexually active, there's something fucking wrong with you.
No,
you've got to have something fucking wrong with you.
This is a lot of this, and the whole thing of this is society. Like, again, you go through school and you kind of like everyone's got to fit into these little pockets, and like you just said, like, oh, if you're not doing this, then what the hell's wrong with you? And then literally you finish school and you spend the rest of your life trying to be a fucking individual and being like, like it's you. At the end of the day, you, and as long as you're a decent human being to other human beings, then like what else can you do? It doesn't matter if you have sex when you're 45 or when you're like 15. Like, well, it kind of matters if you're doing it when you're 15. But
I would say so now.
16.
We're not promoting that.
16. That's the right one. That's the right age.
Depending on the country you're in and their sexual laws, it's
sometimes it's 18.
I think America's 18. I think Japan it's 13. I think so.
Is it 13?
Yeah.
Oh, over if it's
cultural
13.
differences. But exactly. So, but it's a whole kit and caboodle. But even when I lost my virginity to that certain lady, I didn't tell her that it was my first time. I just was like, if I tell her, she won't want to do it. So I didn't tell her. And then when I did tell her, she went, yeah, a bit weird. Thanks for that sensitive.
She said to you that it was a bit weird.
She said it was a bit weird that I was 20.
So
there you go. We're all brainwashed, and we're all this damage does, this patriarchal society does damage both genders, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, if we're talking about that though, it's like, did you feel like it's the whole thing of when you brought up and they try and educate you at school to be like, it's potentially you should wait until the right time and when you feel comfortable and if it's the right person. So in your experience, Dan, before you did it, would you think that was the right person to do that with? I
mean, there's people I was attracted to, and there's people I probably would have wanted to have sex with, or felt I was in love with, or felt I was, and I didn't, even when I had sex with that person, my first love, effectively, there was still somebody else I was attracted to at that particular place, on that job at that particular time. And I'd also just broken up with my girlfriend, who at the time we'd been together for about 2 weeks, and she went, oh, so while I was away doing this job, so it was like a summer camp thing, she dumped me. So I was obviously devastated about that. And then so emotionally it probably wasn't the right person at the right time and all. Probably not. But
do you know what? Everyone's experience is completely different. There are them people that will wait, and if you can wait, then fair enough. Like, that's absolutely fine. I think as long as, I don't know, it's a weird one, isn't it? Like,
I'll be honest.
Like, we're talking to teenagers now, being like, don't do it. unless you feel comfortable doing it. But like that's the whole thing. That's the whole premise of it.
Absolutely. But again, if it's right for you, you think it's right, it's the right person. I'm not saying rush out. Like I think I read somewhere the other day, it was like, oh, people who have boys who have sex after the age of like 25 or something will have sexual dysfunction problems. And I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that information? Have I now got to go out and tell young boys to go have sex so they don't have, 16-year-old boys to go have sex so they don't have sexual dysfunction at a later age? What am I supposed to do with that fucking information? I have no fucking idea. But it was like a science kind of Facebook group.
Why is that science stuff that they're looking at though? Like, why do they pick random
weird studies come out of nowhere?
Like fucking randomest studies that you could possibly fucking think of. I'm sure there's like better things.
I'm sure.
Than like how many times does a monkey touch its balls in a day? Sorry.
About the same amount as I do. So let's get back on. We've discussed a lot of stuff, but we've not discussed any of the other Disney villains. So who else do you want to talk about?
Who do you want to talk about? Do you want to go? Oh, let's see. We've done Maleficent.
Shall I pick one?
Yeah, you pick.
I'd like to talk about maybe a lesser known one or a lesser celebrated one. Okay. I absolutely love Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove.
Me too.
Yes, it's a great film. I really enjoyed it. And again, the main villains in it really is the blokes, the patriarchal society. Kuzco is an absolute fucking arsehole. The Emperor, the titled character, is a complete arsehole.
But he's an arsehole from the start. Like, you get into, like, watching it as you're older, you're getting into, like, this guy's a turd.
Yeah.
And hopefully by the end of the film, he won't be as much of a turd. Like, the way he treats women, the way he treats the lineup of women, where he goes, oh, and let me guess, you've got a great personality. Fuck you, I have, and it's well better than yours, Kuzco.
He's like too tall, because he's got a line of potential brides or mates or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And he's like too tall, too small, too pouty, big cheeks. Oh, and I'm sure you've got a great personality. But then it comes over to Yzma, who is effectively raised him from a child, effectively as well.
We don't know what's going on there. We don't know why he's not got any parents. Dead
parents. Disney's dead parents. Do you think they're all in heaven, like going, if only we were alive, we could have stopped all these stories.
I know, there's been no fucking story.
There's no story. That's why they kill them off straight away. Kill them dead. Anyway, but yeah, like she is doing the job. She's not particularly a great person. There's a great line by Kronk, and she's like, I raised him as a child, and he's like, yeah, I wonder why he turned out so bad. Like, she's not a great person, don't get me wrong.
She's not. I mean,
she's elderly, she's got wrinkles, and, she's quite a pale complexion as well, as opposed to all the other characters. But I'll get into that. I'll get into that shortly. But he literally is just staring at her. She's giving this whole spiel. He's not listening to a word. He's just looking and rating her beauty. Like, look at those bags under her eyes. Look at those wrinkles. Oh my God, she's hideous.
Is that broccoli in her teeth? Oh my God, broccoli in her teeth.
Exactly. So it's all about her again. All about her age and her look.
However, just to kind of go off this, so if you look, so Yzma brought up Kuzco, right? I'm just thinking about, we just said about him lining up a load of people going too fat, too thin, blah 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 blah. Have you seen the people that Yzma has? So Yzma has Kronk, who by all definition is very good-looking, muscular man. So Yzma obviously has a thing about good-looking people, and she's brought up Kuzco, who doesn't. Who also has this thing about images. So
exactly, like so
he's a prick because she's a prick.
Yeah, but again, has the patriarchy done that to her, and then is she passing that down? Like, I think there is a line in Disney. I think there's something to be said for the abused becoming an abuser.
Yeah.
I think you can see that in a lot of the characters, even if it's not explicit, maybe in a backstory. I think you could see that psychological element of that coming down the line. But she was originally, her father's this undertaker, and she learned about, I've done the research.
I was going to say.
I've really gone deep on this. So her father was an undertaker, and she learned the kind of trade of an undertaker, and learned, because she said, he would make them look better dead than they were alive. And and she learned to actually stay out of the sun. And that's why she has a pale complexion, is she's staying out of the sun to preserve her skin and her youth and her beauty. That's why she's so pale. And there is a deleted song. I think I sent it over to you.
You did. It was brilliant.
It's by Eartha Kitt plays a character who's amazing. I think the line delivery, the comedy in this is so sharp, so funny. Kronk's amazing. Patrick Warburton as Kronk is brilliant. And again, surrounded by male idiots. Again, another character surrounded by male idiots. And it's Snuff Out the Light, it's called. Get on YouTube and listen to it because it's a fucking brilliant song. And it's a shame it wasn't included, but she talks about how the sun is her enemy. And it doesn't really come that much into play because they don't really go into her backstory too much. But
maybe that's why they took it out though. It was kind of like, she brought him up and all the rest of it. And then it was kind of, because obviously it is Kuzco's journey into kind of, maybe it's Kuzco breaking the patriarchy, because obviously if Yzma's brought him up that way and she was brought up that way and all the rest of it, kind of looking at it that way.
Or he's just following in her footsteps. He's acting like the way she would act.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And then something happens and it changes his perspective and he gets a bit of an education.
It means he literally throws a guy out of a window for knocking off his groove.
Yeah, and an older guy as well.
And he's like, I get thrown out every week or something. And it's like, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm really sorry. I threw off his groove. The groove. I can't affect the groove. I think it's a really fun film. I know it had a lot of production issues, a lot of production problems, but I think it's great. I think she's a great character. I think Eartha Kitt is a fabulous performer. Anyway,
I think she's really good. I think that's one of the ones where I never really watched it when it was in the cinema because I was a bit like, I was getting to that stage where you kind of come away from Disney when you hit a certain age, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
And I definitely didn't watch it in the cinema.
No.
And then I think the first time I watched it, I was a bit kind of like, but then you kind of go back as you and I was like, I'll give it another go. And I think when I've gone back to it, I've been very kind of like, I really like this film. Like, I love Yzma. Kronk makes me laugh all the way through it. Like, it's brilliant. The fact that you've got another strong female pregnant character as well.
Yeah.
That's bringing up 2 children and trying to sort out her husband and all the rest of the stuff. Like, literally
kick some serious ass.
That all us women normally do, which is really good. Like, there's all these little bits in it, and it was weird when you watch it when you were kind of younger. I was a bit like, nah, and then the older I get, I kind of go.
I think there's a lot of subtle comedy throughout as well, and I think on repeated viewings you can enjoy it more and more. But it's
my favorite story about the Emperor's New Groove, and if it is true, then I absolutely love this story even more. Is have you seen the water slides where you're standing and then the doors open up at the bottom?
Yes.
So one of my favorite stories is a guy that worked on one of them, and I don't know if this is true or not, but if it is true, then this is the best story in the world. So a girl got into one of these and put her arms across and shouted at the guy, "Pull the lever, Kronk," which is just brilliant because that is the best. I mean, by far the best bit of the film. Makes me laugh just thinking about it.
I could just picture her going down the slide, going, "Wrong lever."
If you ever find yourself on one of these water rides, please take every opportunity to shout that as you're going down the slide. And then tell me about it.
From now on, anybody that goes on a water slide that has a lever that drops you down, that is required. That's a required thing. It's a requirement just to go on the ride.
Yeah, just to kind of shout out to kind of the feminist that is Yzma.
I always love the following line with that, like, why does she even have that?
Yeah, why do we even have that then?
Why do we even have that?
Also,
because they do it later, don't they? Kuzco and him go down, and like, why do they even have that?
Also, that would have made a really good Disney ride. You think about like all the rides that they have at Disney World, like the pull the lever thing, and like because it's an actual roller coaster, it's like down into the thing. It would have been an amazing ride.
You need to be an Imagineer. You need to be a Disney Imagineer, Natalie. I think you'd be great at that.
Maybe we just need to tell some people from Disney to listen to the podcast and they'll be like, "Oh my god, yeah."
They better be listening. They better be paying attention to all our feminist critique. I'm sure that's exactly what I want to hear about their characters. Definitely. Feminist critique.
Feminist critique of Disney films alongside you telling us about your sexual experience.
Yeah, my losing my virginity. I like to be open and honest with my listeners. Yeah, it's fine.
It's more like a therapy session, isn't it?
It is. Well, I've enjoyed watching all these films. I'm glad I've revisited them because it was like kind of revisiting my childhood. Not when I lost my virginity. But anyway, I think we can move on to another one. Who would you like to talk about next?
Do you want to? Can we go on to Cruella?
Oh yeah, good shout.
Can we go on to Cruella? Before we do though, can I nip to the loo?
Yes, go ahead.
Cruella de Vil. If she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will. To see her is to take a sudden chill. Cruella de Vil. The glare in her look, the ice in her stare. Innocent children, you better beware. The world was such a wholesome place until Cruella de Vil.
So we're back from our little break, and we're going to talk Cruella de Vil. Cruella de Vil. I think this is one of your favourites. So, being the dog lover you are, let's hear about it.
Oh my god! So the fact that you've got puppies in it for a start is just ridiculous. But Cruella de Vil is she's an amazing villain. Like, let's face it. Like, all right, it's not very good that she wants to skin animals. Like, she's not going to win a lot of friends with that one.
Nah.
But again, if you're looking at the history of it and the fact that people used to walk around wearing furs and stuff, it wasn't really that frowned upon.
No.
It's just the fact that we've given these dogs personalities and voices and characters that we feel sorry for them.
I mean, it was actually, I mentioned this a few podcasts ago. It was actually years until there was like fair treatment of animals until like the early 80s, I think.
Yeah.
Where they decided that treating animals poorly on film was not a good thing. Or maybe even later, actually, maybe into the 90s, perhaps. I can't remember exactly, but
this is it.
That was just
but literally people used to walk around in furs all the time. I mean, like, it was like, I'm very against kind of,
of course,
animal cruelty and all the rest of them. Killing for fashion. It's not something. But like, if you think about it, again, we're going back to kind of the history of stuff and
what was what was traditional.
Yeah,
furs were traditional. Furs go back as long as man has been alive. We wore the skin of animals.
Like survival more than anything as well, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Like,
but now we're at a point where we don't need them. We don't require them to survive. That's when the question of morality comes into it.
Yeah, of course it is. And like, but like, if you think back, so let's look at Cruella. She is wealthy for a start.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and everyone wants, like, don't tell me you don't want to be wealthy. Like, everyone
successful, yeah,
successful. Depending on which one you're looking at. Well, across all versions of this film, she's got a house in London, and she's got an estate somewhere else because that's where they take the dogs to.
Yeah.
So she's got a good thing for kind of real estate and all the rest of it. She's obviously like bought or inherited the real estate and stuff. Like, she's obviously well respected because no one said anything to her in the past about not killing any animals for fur. It's just the fact that the Dalmatians cross the line. But yeah, I mean, yeah, she goes insane at the end of it and she doesn't get her own way and she starts throwing a pad in. That's not very kind of what we'd expect like someone to do who's level-headed. But like the fact that is it like the way she enters and she's like constantly surrounded by smoke?
Yeah.
Stuff, like, but it's just brilliant. She comes in, she's got that presence again, when she's on screen, like when she does go insane, like she's got that massive car she's constantly driving around badly.
Yeah.
By all means.
That's what I was going to mention because they even reference in it in the Cruella film that she's not great at driving, but is that a sexist comment?
Yeah.
On women drivers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Like, obviously, because like that's.
I think they even say it in the they say it in the animated film "Crazy Woman Driver." I think they even say it.
Yeah.
Literally.
They do. But it's again, it's education. It's something you brought up thinking. Like, I'm not. There's times when you kind of when you are driving, and you just do something and like.
Sure.
You call people names and stuff, and like the amount of times that you growing up, and I used to be, but it's a woman. Like, it's just, and it's an off the cuff thing, but obviously it sticks with people, and it shouldn't be. It should just be, what a dickhead. But again, is that an education thing? Is that the way us looking at ourselves and being like, we should probably not do that? It's like, it's weird, isn't it? And like, they put it in the film because probably is a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
Again, looking at like when it was brought out, so you're looking at like, again,
I think that's 50. I want to say that's 50s or early 60s as well.
Yeah. So that was probably a thing of like, it was fine to joke about that kind of stuff then. It's probably not. It isn't that fine to joke about that stuff now.
But what you were saying at the start as well, like, you know, the equality between the sexes. You know, I've worked in a few office environments where I do hear quite a lot like, "Oh, men, bloody men! Oh, he's only a man," and all this sort of stuff. And you know, there are times where I go, I should probably say that that's not cool. But then again, if I do, then am I mansplaining? Yeah. Am I doing this? And then it's a whole. I don't know. I think another thing.
A lot of that is you've got to be accepting. Like it doesn't work one way.
No.
Like it shouldn't work. Well, like it winds me up that if a woman was walking down the street and she got catcalled, or right, I'm going to tell you a story of when me and Andrew were sat in the cinemas, and the difference. What if this would have been a man, right? So we went to the cinemas and we went watching Aquaman, which has got what's his name?
Jason Momoa.
Yes, that's it, Jason Momoa. Obviously, Jason Momoa is a very fit, good-looking man.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sat in the cinemas, and in front of us was a family on a row.
Mm-hmm.
So it had parents. There was about 3 kids, and 2 grandparents was with them as well. And as Jason Momoa came on screen in hardly any top stuff, the grandma of the group went, "Ooh, there he is," in a very kind of exactly. It was really, but it was surreal because I was like, "We're in the middle of a cinema. Why are you shouting that out on the screen?" Like, and to me, that was kind of like. You can admire him for he is pretty and he's well shown and
I'm a straight man and even I'm attracted to him.
Exactly. You don't shout, "Oh, there he is," when you're like in a very like the fact that she had little kids with her as well. I find that really weird. Like, and I get the whole like Jason Momoa he is very pretty.
Yeah,
he's very pretty. Imagine that if that was a man.
Yeah, true.
Shouting that to a woman on the screen, like it's totally like
they'd be destroyed.
Yeah.
He'd been thrown out. He would have been thrown out.
But this is it, and I think like more fuel me because I feel like I did say something, but probably not as loud as I could have gone. As if I go, really, like, or just to shut it down a little bit. She only did it once. It was like never happened again after that. But I was kind of like, it's so, and it needs to work both ways. It can't just be. Like, you can't have women going, "Oof, yeah, oh yeah, definitely do him," and then you like expecting men not to do the same. Like, it's a weird line that we've got to toe.
I've experienced it as well before. I've experienced it with like racism. Someone will complain about being racist too. However, they will go and then be racist to another group. How can you do that? That's still racism. That's
But I think that's a big part of like when you were asking me at the beginning, like my version of kind of feminism, and it's like, no, it shouldn't just work in my favor because that's not right. It should work that everyone toes a line and everyone is the same and everyone gets again equality stuff.
Yeah,
everyone gets treated the same and everyone is treated the same.
Equal opportunity.
No matter what. Yeah, like and that's how it should be. And like I think. As much as we say it's feminism, it shouldn't be feminist. It's equality.
It's just treating human beings equally and as
not like a dickhead.
Giving them all the respect they deserve. My dad recently, I think I told you this, but I was on holiday with my dad, he mostly works in Europe now, and he spotted some surfers down on the beach, and he went, "Bloody immigrants!" And I went, and I said, "Dad, you're an immigrant. You are an immigrant because you are working abroad." You know, this is like white privilege coming through. Just because you're a white guy working abroad and taking advantage of the money, the lucrative amounts of money you're getting from working abroad, you can't then go around complaining. Turns out those people were Spanish of that island, and they were just surfers. And I was like, and then I also learned Also, my dad didn't tell me he got married recently. This is a proper therapy session.
I was going to say.
Forget feminism. Forget feminism. I need fixing. he didn't tell me he got married, and I was like, oh, this is a bit odd. He's not been a massive fan of marriage. This is his third marriage. And he said, he went, it was like, I was like, so was there any other reason you got married? Because I went, something's a bit fishy, because he's not the romantic type. Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, well, I've been working in Europe without a visa.
So he did it for a green card.
So he's taken advantage of working abroad, but he complains, he's an expat, and he complained about immigration in the UK, even though he's mostly living abroad now. He was an illegal immigrant, but he doesn't see it that way because he's a white bloke. Again,
though, this is it's I'm going to go back to the kind of upbringing and education side of it. Like it just baffles me. It's the people that aren't, and it goes for everything, doesn't it? Like across the board, like you need to be open about what you're thinking about. It's just, you need to educate yourself, and you need to be listening to other people and taking that on board. And it's the whole thing is like, it's weird, and it's like you've got older generation, it's like, oh, well, it weren't like that when I was a kid. And it's, it wasn't, but it's different now, and we've got to be more open to society. And like there's stuff that I still don't really understand all of it, because I'm like, so when you talk about like there's so many different sexualities and like genders and all the rest of it now, like, and I like, if whatever you want to choose to be, that is fine. I don't judge people, but I'm not saying I understand every single version of it, and but I'd still take the time to listen to that. And if you want, like, if someone was talking to me about it, like a lot of this, I think, like we're looking at like like we were talking about different cultures and stuff before. Like a lot of my stuff, I started working at an Asda near me, and that was very kind of, there was a lot of people who were Muslim that were working at that Asda at the time. I should not mention supermarket at the time. And it's like that, a lot of my education from that religion, I mean, you learn about it at school, but you go to school, you don't really listen to it. Just like, all right, okay.
It's very Cliff Notes, isn't it? It's very
of course it is. Yeah. But then, like, being submerged into that culture where, like, people are talking about it, and like they experience obviously like Eid and stuff. So you're working with these people and having conversations with these people and learning constantly. And like a lot of it is that it's like immersing yourself in different cultures and different ideas and different experiences. And the more you do that, the more you will change, and the more you'll be able to change others. Like my dad's like as Wigan as you can get. Like, let's face it. He's steak and chips and pie on a bun and all that kind of stuff. But if we were to sit down and talk, and we do constantly, like he does it more to wind me up than anything. Like, and it's weird because, but you see he's changing his perceptions and stuff. Because when you can talk about experiences, it kind of opens up the doors to stuff a bit more. And then you relate back to me like, well, you used to work with someone that was like this, and you used to work with someone that was like that. And it's kind of, oh, well, yeah, actually, I was like, so you can't lump everyone in the same bowl because everyone is different.
Can't tar everyone with the same brush.
Yeah.
It's the same.
I was like, so, I just whined, it just really great.
Yeah. Well, my dad,
being dicks.
My dad,
just being nice.
Just be nice to everyone. Just be nice and respectful to everyone. You know, that's it. That's the message. If this podcast has any message, that. But like my dad is well traveled. He's been to all over. We've gone on holiday all over. He loves taking in different cultures. And like the last Christmas, he was like, I don't trust anything from China. I don't trust anything coming from China. He's an acupuncturist. All of his training it comes from China. He's stolen from China all his means to make money.
Just baffled.
And I don't get it. I was like, you've literally seen all these different cultures, all this other area, all these different areas.
You've got to wonder where it's coming from, though. Yeah. Like it's just like a random.
I think deep down as human beings, I kind of get that we're all resistant to change.
Yeah.
Like resistant change. Oh, no, yeah. I think we're all like, oh God, I'm gonna have to learn this, or I have to do that, or I have to get involved in this, or I have to learn a new way of this, or doing that, or I have to drive a car differently, or blah, blah, blah. Whatever it may be, I have to learn how to use an iPhone or a tablet, or, people are resistant to change. I think that's where it comes from, and it stems from that. But then it does go off into these maybe racist, sexist tangents that we see.
It's weird, and it like, I think, like you were saying, like deep down, no one's born with all these ideas. It's learned behavior.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, like from my experiences with it, because I obviously used to be in a classroom with 16 to 18-year-olds and all the rest of it, and you see kind of, it's very strange. So you've got kind of one side, you want to talk about the feminism stuff, or the feminist lack of feminism, especially coming from a working class area that we come from, a very poor area as well, is you find that you'll have boys that come into the class and they're either very kind of like, the nan is kind of this high up pedestal woman that is like, oh, if anyone touches her, I'd knock her heads off, and like it's someone who you can relate to really well and all the rest of it, and it's like, that's lovely. And then to hear the way they speak to their own mothers is terrifying. Because it's like, and I think, and it sounds really bad, isn't it? But it's
because
like,
the nans never discipline though. They always treat, and they get like my mum's the same with my nephew.
Yeah, but I think a big part of it as well is like, because they have a lot more respect for the nans. So I don't know whether it is a discipline thing. I don't know whether it's that kind of stuff. But the majority of the lads that you used to see that did have this kind of like, especially like the bad attitude with the mums, didn't have a father figure at home.
Ah, right.
So whether it's this, and it's going to sound awful. We're getting back to the whole kind of relationships and all the rest of it. But like, if you brought up and your mother is maybe a single mom and you've seen her go through several relationships, and maybe some of them relationships have been really bad relationships, and you've had experiences with that, and you've seen other people treat your mum like absolute shit, and you're being brought up the same way. And it's not just the lads, like the girls can speak to the mums like absolute shit as well. Like it's like daughters and mums are a little bit different, because you always have that bit of a clash and all the rest of it. So then you kind of come out the other side and you're like besties by the time you're 21. It's like it gets better. Like the male side of it is like, it's just like when you see it and it's really bad, and all I can think is, oh my God, it's the cycle repeating again of like, he might be like a really bad in a relationship. He's going to treat people like shit. He's got no respect for the teachers or any woman of society. Like, and you can see it the way that he talks to other people. And it's that's like, that's the stuff that we need to break. That's the stuff that it's like, no, stop doing that shit. Like, it's like, and it's weird because there's no easy answer for it, is there? And it's
no, there isn't, unfortunately. But we can only do our best and try our best to educate people, and like, this is why we always need to talk about stuff like this, is because if we don't, then people will just literally just slip back. Look at I think we were talking about it before the podcast started, but look at Tennessee. They're currently burning books, Harry Potter books with Michelle Obama's book they're burning, and it's like it's been like 60, 50 years since then, and we're back to square one. We're literally back to square one in not even just like
ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. The fact that like all the abortion laws have gone back and stuff as well. Like, and this is coming from like, and there's women in these, like, and it baffles me that there's women that's doing this, and like there's women and like the Irish ones as well. They were on about it and like reversing the abortion laws, and I'm like, how?
Why?
How, as a woman, can you decide that your own body is not as like precious as something else? Like, how is that not your choice? Like, it genuinely
it benefits you and your children. Like, how does that?
Like,
why take that away?
It baffles me, and I think kind of where the feminism stuff on, like, especially the abortion side of it, is like where I get more feminist is when you've got the cases where the men come in, and I get the whole it's their baby too and all the rest of it,
not their body though, not their body.
Well, this is it, and you're asking the woman to put themselves under a hell of a lot of like, your body changes. It can have detrimental like mental health.
Yeah,
stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, there's literally people like postnatal depression.
Yeah.
Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, that's what you're asking them to do. You're asking them to risk their own lives, because there's a very fine line between birth and death.
Just because some fucking dickhead jizzed in you.
Well,
Basically, that's it. You want to put it down? You want to put it down to it? That's it.
Like, even if for the sake of, if they won a court case and said, like, in 9 months, I'm going to take that child off you and, like, you don't have to see it again. It's not, you've got to carry that child. That's a constant reminder for 9 months that
And also,
I've got to give birth to this thing. And I'm like, and there are women out there that maybe don't see the children and it's left to the dads. And it's a really, like, obviously the dads pick up the pieces and stuff.
But at the end of the day, if you've got that choice, at least you have that choice.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you fall on it, you don't have to have one. You can have one if you like. At least you have the option.
Yeah.
It's there. It's there if you feel you need it. And I think that's it.
Yeah. Like, and you see all the stuff, there's like historical stories from Ireland of people, like, the reason they got abortions because they weren't using contraceptions. They already had like 6 kids at home. Like, no wonder you don't want another one. Like, another one is financial pressure on you. You might not be able to last.
A lot of Irish women had to come into the UK to have an abortion and come back. I'm not saying it's a large trip, but it's quite, it's not an easy thing to do.
No, especially not on your own, because you're getting looked at from society to be like, that's a bad thing.
And again, judgmental, not respecting people's decisions. Again, it all comes into this. However, again,
sorry,
we've got
going back. Cruella de Vil.
Cruella de Vil we were talking about. But I wanted to talk about the live action version of Cruella de Vil because
which one?
Well, I want to talk about the Glenn Close one.
Yes, that's fine.
Because I like that one. I didn't like the other one.
It is good. Did you not like Cruella?
No, she's Emma Stone is great in it. I just everything. I don't think you can humanize a person who wants to skin dogs.
No.
Like they've still got to be evil to a point. But there's a lot, because you were discussing recently, you are pregnant currently, and obviously you're on maternity leave, and you've had some struggles with that and stuff. And we were discussing, maternity leave, the amount you get, the amount of money you get paid, and this is still an issue with women in the workplace and coming back to the workplace. And again, it's obviously
we live in a country that's like not too bad with it as well.
Yeah.
Like, we live in England, and England's like, at least you get statutory maternity. Like, if we were I don't think I'd be able to advocate if we were in America. Like, the money side of it is ridiculous.
Well, you've got to pay for the births first.
It's
like thousands of dollars.
At least have insurance, some damn good insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but
I remember, was I telling you that if we were in America, I'd have to pay $40 to, after I've given birth, to have the baby put on my chest for contact. Like, for $40. That's like, what are you going to do? Hold my baby and refuse to give it to me? Like, what?
No.
No, you can't have it because you're not paying $40 for skin-to-skin contact.
And like that I've, I think Rhea talked about it on one of her podcasts I listened to, that was one of the most important things for her, was that skin-to-skin contact. That was the moment, it was very special to her. And, and to many mothers, it's a big deal to have that, just that, not long, but
it's not even, it's weird. So they call it, like, you can proper tell that I'm like pregnant and been reading up on all this stuff now, Dan. So like, they call it like the golden hour. So just after the baby's born, and it's basically, so that skin to skin, actually, it reduces postnatal depression.
Wow.
It helps to bring on your milk. Like, it's like massive bonding for you and the baby as well. Like, it's just, there's so, like, that first hour of skin to skin.
That is like literal magic. That's what that sounds like.
It's so they literally say that you will never have as much oxytocin in your body just after the baby's born, and all that oxytocin helps to kind of sort you out. Like, just
recover.
Like, you recover it. You've just given birth to this thing, and now we've got to produce milk and do this and do that and the other, and it's like, and the whole bonding stuff. It's like that skin to skin contact is insane. Amazing.
It sounds incredible. But the human body, like, we've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, I think, or however long we've human beings have existed. We've given birth. Obviously, we've come a long way, but your body is quite a resilient thing. Like the female body in regards to birth is incredibly resilient, because you've got to go through all that trauma, piss, shit, vomit, vaginas tearing, whatever.
Really? We're going to start talking about this. 7 months pregnant.
Sorry.
Let's talk about all the horrific stuff.
Oh dear, sorry. I've done it again. Sorry. But it's the truth. But it will, anyway. you recover, you heal, and then you get on with it. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I think there you are. But anyway, Cruella de Vil. I was trying to say there's a line because she makes friends with Anita in the Glenn Close version. She's her designs the Dalmatian. She's like, "Oh, I love this. Tell me more about who you are and what you do." And she's like, "Oh, I'll only, she's like, she's like, how driven are you in your career and stuff." She was like, "Well, if I fall in love, get married, have children, maybe I'll, that's the only thing that would make me leave this job." And there's a quote here I'm going to read from Glenn Close, which I think is really telling about kind of women in the workplace. So she says, "More good women have been lost to marriage than to war, famine, disease, and disaster. You have talent, darling. Don't squander it."
There we go.
Which I thought was a really interesting, again, just kind of view on kind of women in the workplace. Because she brings her in. She's like, "You're doing an excellent job. You can rise in the ranks. You could be, have your own company, blah, 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 blah." And she goes,
yeah.
"No, I want to fall in love," which is, again, is just as feminist as what Cruella is doing. But it was an interesting.
It is really it's a really interesting kind of play on it. And if you look at kind of society today, it feels like it feels like you have to have that choice of, especially because of the cost of childcare after you've had your baby. Like, it's literally of, can I afford however thousands and thousands of pounds a year to essentially say, like, I'm going to pay for childcare and come back and only have £100 to spend on myself at the end of the month? Or do I live off the state until the kid is at least 2 and I raise my child? Like, it's a really, it's like have no money and raise your own child, or have no money and go back to work and not see each other. Like, it's a really, it's so tough. And I get it. Like, if you've got a high flying job and you're earning that money and you can afford to pay for nursery and all the rest of it, then yeah, by all means, obviously, and I'm not saying go back to work. I'm just saying, it's all a choice. More, yeah. And it's more feasible for you to go back to work if you were still earning enough money to pay for childcare and have money left for yourself and to do whatever you want to do at the end of the day. If by going back to work means you are forking out for nurseries and things like that, and you have no money because you've now forking out, if you're in a worse state because you are going back to work, there's something broken in the system there.
Yeah.
To say, well, that's not right. I shouldn't have less money because I'm sending my child. Again, this whole the Invisible Woman book that I was talking about before, if you read that, that's a massive thing to say. In some countries, I think it might be Denmark.
You know what? I'm going to leave a link to that book because I'm going to leave a link.
I've mentioned it about 4 times.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a great book, and I know you've told me about it before, so I'm going to leave a link where people can get that because it sounds like a really good read.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's that book, and it basically talks about how in Denmark, childcare is free from your baby being 6 months old, and that then means that women go back to work, which means the country is going back on track because everyone's back to work and all the rest of it. So there's more jobs because you've got people that need to look after the 6-month-old children. So there's jobs there. And then it's free. So you've not got this tearing question of, do I have to pay for it? And then because it's that's the societal norm, no one's judging you if you're going back to work or not. Because you're going back to work, everyone essentially goes back to work. So they're more likely to, and it's that thing though, and then you get judged if you don't go back to work.
You do.
There's no win.
No,
no win.
Unfortunately, again, we live in a very judgmental society. Again, we've talked about it throughout this podcast that people just will judge you. Your wedding's coming up. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a wedding where people are just fucking judging the wedding constantly, and I'm like. Just you got fucking invited. You know how much it costs to get an invite to a fucking wedding, let alone a plus one.
It's got to be special for getting an invite to a wedding.
Exactly, fucking hell. Hannah and Nathan are about to get married. They're talking about who they're going to invite, who they can and can't invite, who they don't want to invite.
No, this is the whole thing. So it's just invite who you want. It's your wedding.
End of the day, your choice. Your choice. If they didn't want to invite they didn't want to invite me. That's fine. I'm like, it's fine. I wouldn't be too offended.
I was going to be too offended.
Well, unless I'm like Maleficent and I'm just like, right, firstborn dead.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want to get like that. But it's just weird. That. You can't do right for if you're doing wrong, and you do feel judged by it. If we are going with the whole the Glenn Close, Cruella de Vil kind of situation, sure. If she had a better childcare program, because it's her office at the end of the day. So she's basically saying, oh, like more women have been lost to marriage and blah, 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 right? That's fair enough. However, if you know that this is a problem and you are a female-led company and you know that you're losing the best female employees due to marriage and childbirth and all the rest of the stuff, to make it a lesser kind of problem of having the option of, actually, we've got a nursery downstairs, it's free of charge for all employees.
There you go.
We'll do flexi working, so you only have to come into the office 3 days a week. Like that essentially is being a more feminist approach to solving that problem than anything else.
Yeah.
So there you go. Sorry, I brought it back.
You did bring it back. No, I appreciate it. To be honest, I don't mind this one running a bit long because I think it is a good discussion. I think we're talking really deep into this, and I do want to talk, and we do need to talk about some Disney eventually. But yeah, I think Cruella's got a great design. I like her look. I like the big fur, but then she has a really skinny frame, skeletal-like frame. And again, is that saying something about, again, maybe eating disorders or something, perhaps? She
smokes as well, doesn't she? You never see her eat, but she's always smoking. That's like a thing. You like smoke and you're thin and all the rest of the stuff. It's like that kind of pressure on a woman.
I might be reading too much into some of the depictions of the characters, but I'm just thinking, reflecting society, or maybe there is something that could be said. But yeah, she covers herself in these big, beautiful furs. Maybe she doesn't like her own appearance, her own beauty thing, but she covers herself in all these beautiful animals that she's clearly fond of, so fond that she wants to kill them. It's a really interesting character. I can see why they went with the prequel Maleficent type thing. I don't think it works as well as the Maleficent one.
No,
personally, it became very much like, what if Cruella was the Joker? Dalmatians killed my mom. Spoilers again, but that was a bit, when I heard or read that, I can't remember what it was. I just went, "Are you fucking kidding?"
So Corella's one that we watched because I wasn't sure where it was going.
Yeah,
I think the day that we watched it was the day that we read the same, like, Dalmatians killed my mom, and I was like, "What?" But then you get into it, and sorry, spoilers again. But by the end of the film, Pongo and Purdy get given to, but then you find out that Pongo and Purdy are brothers, like brother and sister, get given to Anita and Roger. And then, so now 101 Dalmatians turns into this incestuous
inbred
dog thing. And realistically, you shouldn't have inbred dogs. So killing them is probably about.
Well, maybe that's what they're saying in that film. They're like, well, they're inbred anyway, so it's fine if we kill them.
It's fine.
I don't know what they're trying to say.
Still not fine.
Still not cool. No, anyway.
It was just so, yeah. Like, the Glenn Close one's probably, and obviously you've got the humour involved in it as well, and she ends up covered in, like, the pig sat on her at the end or something like that. I can't remember. Like, that's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you've got some great actors in that version as well. You've got Jeff Daniels. You've got Ron Weasley's dad. I can't remember his name from the Fast Show. That guy. And you've got Hugh Laurie who's in it as well.
Hugh Laurie, isn't it? I remember. So we'd not seen it in ages, and I told Andy, I was like, "Oh, we'll watch the thingy one because Hugh Laurie's in it." And he's like, "No, he's not." I was like, "Yes, he is."
Yeah, he is. Yes, that's definitely. They get their nuts on the old electric fence, don't they?
Hilarious. Very, very Home Alone, like.
Oh, very, yeah.
Very Home Alone, and it's the fact that they like fling off it at the end as well. Just brilliant.
I love as well where he's the whole, because in that version he's not because in the animated version he's a songwriter. But in that version, he's a video game designer, and they're like, and they keep getting this little kid who's like the best video game tester in the world. He's like, "You've got a rubbish villain, mate. You need a good villain." And then at the end, they introduce Cruella, and they're like, "Excellent villain, mate." And it's like that's the seal of approval. So now all of his games get sold, and they can live on a big farm and everything. And but yeah, I think Cruella's a good shout. I think
there you go.
There's a lot to be.
She's like the leading female in that. I mean, Purdy's not really kind of like.
Yeah. Again, driving the plot, like the whole idea, you wouldn't have the story without the villain, literally.
Yeah.
So,
and like Anita, you were saying about Anita before, and Anita's very kind of like
she because she's mates with her. She knows she's not great.
And she knows she's like, and like we all have that friend that we're like, why are we friends with that person?
I have several.
There you go. but like it's like Anita's not very strong. I mean, we were saying about like obviously there's the choice of going back to work in the Glenn Close one, and like that's a very prominent. You could have dealt with that a lot, kind of. But then it's just kind of like to kind of move the story along. She doesn't really do much, does she? She's just kind of like, oh, I'm having a baby. Oh, it's really
again like another
having puppies.
A dead or unfortunately ineffectual female character.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
which is a shame.
Yeah,
but it seems like all the old films are kind of that way inclined, though.
I was going to say this. So in recent years, I think there's been a slew of like surprise villains in the Disney films. So. I won't say what films, but a lot of the Pixar films, you know, there are spoilers. So Frozen, for example, is a good example of a surprise villain. So we don't, like in these earlier films, we get to kind of know them. We see them being villainous. They're villainous from the start. And these are the ones we tend to talk about a bit more, or that are held in high regard. Yeah, we don't necessarily know their backstory. In some iterations, we do get more of a backstory. But do you think, like, can you pick a decent, like, in the last, say, 5-10 years of Disney, can you pick a really strong female villain, or male villain, or animal, whatever the fuck, just villain that you can go, yeah, what a great performance, great writing, great characteristics. Like what is the one? Do they scream out, or is there just too many of these like, surprise, it was me all along?
I don't know. I think if you're looking at kind of, so there's two that kind of come to mind. The Incredibles 2, which is very female led from the start, because it's the mum that actually takes charge of everything, and then it turns out to be a female villain at the end that's in charge of it. Sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. We've said spoilers now. Should be used to it. We've not even really talked about Disney films anyway, so don't worry about it.
It's fine. It's just an hour of us talking about Dan's virginity. And the fact that
I think it's come back now. I think the virginity's come back, and your maternity leave is going to get shortened.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So
Incredibles 2.
Yeah, Incredibles 2. So very female led. So there's kind of obviously the mum goes off to do all the saving, but she's seen as the most safer option because Mr. Incredibles just blows everything up, and she kind of methodically thinks stuff through. So I think that's very kind of like looking at it in a little bit of a different way, and nice to kind of see. It's the fact that she's like, no casualties, because obviously Mr. Incredibles just blows up stuff and crashes into things and throws stuff. And then you've got Violet in there as well, which she's going through her teenage years where she fancies a boy. There's a really funny, this it sounds really bad because it's good to poke fun at it as well, though, because obviously you've got and I think there's a line in it where he goes, is that puberty? Like the little Dash kid. And it does she just have a puberty? Or something along them lines that's actually really funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you've got to poke fun at this shit because you are, like, all girls know, and boys too, you turn into this moody, horrible beast when you're going through this kind of stuff.
I would never ever in my life want to be a teenage girl. I've said it before. Like teenagers, you've got to understand that teenagers, their brains are literally tearing itself apart and rearranging. Hormones are going crazy. So no wonder you act like an absolute fucking mental, you know, because your brain is literally restructuring itself. You know, that would cause anyone to go mad, you know, a little bit.
It's like the little tiniest things that will set you off as well. Like, so like, you know, the little thing on your jumper that's got like, and it can have like a little ball at the bottom of it to keep your thread.
Yeah.
I remember that hit me in the face one day. I cried for 40 minutes. Like, what the fuck was that about? Like,
just that was it.
That's how nuts puberty is. Yeah. But like, to poke, like looking back on it now, it kind of pokes fun at it and it's kind of funny. And I think like, if you're a teenager watching that, it's kind of like, actually, yeah, I do feel like that sometimes. I do feel like I want to just throw stuff into and destroy it and all the rest of it.
Yeah, well, you're allowed to feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, of course you are. So you've got like, and it's weird because you've got mum that's going off doing all this really good stuff, and then you've got kind of Violet that's going through like obviously fancying boys and all the rest of it, and stuff's going wrong, and her dad's just messing her fucking life up. And then you've got the villain that actually turns out to be a woman. So it's and I think it's very kind of like that's very kind of progressive in what they've done. So it's kind of like, and he didn't really.
I'm gonna do a -1 to the progressiveness of this film.
Go on.
Because I think there is a trope, unfortunately, like we've talked about maternity leave and stuff. There are a lot of stay-at-home dads, you know, in today's society.
Yeah.
Perhaps, you know, the breadwinner of the family is the woman of the couple, or, you know, even if you're in a same-sex marriage, whatever, it doesn't matter. But there's a trope that all men must be shit at being a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
You know, like there's the Mr. Mom thing with Michael Keaton. There is this, unfortunately, there's a lot of negative female tropes, again, and non-feminist. But I'm just saying,
but
he gets better. Don't get me wrong.
He does get better at it. He does get better at it.
But there's that thing, and again, it is representing. Again, it's kind of like almost 50s, 60s classic comic book styling. So it's kind of almost set in that kind of era in a way.
Yeah.
This kind of neo-futurism, or, you know, classical futurism, whatever you want to call it. But there is that kind of trope that if a dad stays at home, he's clearly shit at doing all the stuff the mum would be great at. I think there is that. I think that's a really negative trope for me.
It is a negative trope. Yeah, I think obviously they pulled on it for like the comedy elements.
Yeah, sure.
So, like when he's trying to help with maths, and he's like, "Why would they change maths?" Like that's kind of like
he doesn't know how to be kind of emotionally available for his daughter.
Yeah,
you know?
like I said, he was messing everything up for Violet. He messed everything up for Dash, and then
I do like the film, but I'm just highlighting that there's a negative.
I get that. I totally take that on board. Like it could have been done in a bit of a better way. No, I get where you're coming from with that one.
If we're talking about complete equality, I think there is that, like, you know, because there are stay-at-home dads. There's a lot of stay-at-home dads. There's probably more stay-at-home dads now than there ever has been. And I think it's a little bit dated. I think you wouldn't remake Mr. Mom now, because I think you know you've got people like Fathers for Justice and things like that. There's a lot of kind of stuff out there for dads, and the fact that they're just like, you know, I don't think I'd be any good at all the stuff that he does in that or tries to do, because I've not got much experience doing that stuff. But
no, Dad, I think you like the whole thing, like especially with Mr. Incredible as well. If you were put in that situation, you'd have to be.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing with women. Like some women say that they're not very maternal, motherly. They don't want to stay at home, and we do it because we have to. There's no fucking ifs and buts and choice about it. It's just if you were in that situation and it had to be done,
step up.
And thankfully, like you're saying, like more and more dads are stepping up, and that equality thing is getting kind of across the board, and your breadwinners are changing, and all the rest of it. It's not like I'm a man, I go out and work, and you've got to stay at home and have the kids.
Exactly.
It's not like that anymore. Like,
and I think like that's what they're making fun of, because he's a very old-fashioned type.
That's it. But it's like we were saying, like he does start to step up, and he does he does start to step up, and then he kind of goes back into the superhero field, and they work together.
But then again, he's a victim of the patriarchy as well, because he's supportive and he loves his wife and he wants to go out and do that thing so he can get out and do that thing as well. You know, he's a little envious, he's maybe a little jealous, or you know, and he's trying his best and stuff, and he's struggling. And I think you do need that in the film. I like the film. Don't get me wrong. I like the film. I think it is quite good. I don't think it's as good as the original, but I did quite enjoy it.
I see. I think it's better than the original.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's not very often I think a sequel's better than.
I know, right? But is it? What do you think it is for you? Do you think it is the empowerment thing that grabs you a bit more?
I don't know. I think it's the jokes are a lot kind of thicker, faster, and more kind of like. It's a bit quicker pace than the original. Like, don't get me wrong, I really like the original. I like the premise of it and the fact that like superheroes aren't allowed and all the kind of. There's like comic books and stuff that deal with that kind of like, oh, it's in the press and it's a bad thing.
Yeah, like Watchmen. Like Watchmen's a good one. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because they ban all the superheroes. That's
yeah. So it's very kind of like Watchmen-y. And I like that, but I think like it's a lot of that was him not being able to let go of that side of it, and everyone else kind of adapted. Whereas the new one, and it does take a lot longer to kind of get into the whole, because you've got the background of it and stuff, but I think this one is kind of like, and it starts straight after the other one's finished.
Yeah,
brilliant with the mole man guy.
The Underminer, yeah.
Underminer.
I mean, you've absolutely named his inspiration, the Mole Man from the Fantastic Four. Like this, The Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie there is.
There you go, exactly.
So why not literally just
we'll just call it the Mole Man.
We call him the Underminer, which I think is actually quite a funny name for it. And I quite like the idea what they do with the screen slaver thing. Like we're all addicted to our phones, and addicted to our screens. I thought that was quite a clever little thing they threw in there. Again, fairly subtle, but I quite like that as well.
That's it. And all the way through, she's kind of looking for this like male villain. Like when she thinks she finds him, and it turns out that it's just like a pizza delivery boy or whatever the hell it is. Like she's looking for a male villain all the way through it, and at no point does she suspect that this what does she say? She's like, "Oh, do you think we're friends just because I'm nice to you?" Like,
well, they do it. They have a sit down conversation, kind of about feminism, don't they? The two characters, and they talk about, oh well, I live in the shadow of my brother. He's the guy. I'm the tech person, and she's like, no, go out, do your own thing, grab the opportunities, do what you can, and it's not actively saying, oh, we're talking about feminism, but they're discussing feminism
in the undercurrent of it.
Yeah, which I thought was quite interesting. And again, it's not something you see in a kids' film very often, which is quite interesting. So yeah, absolutely. What was the other one you were thinking of?
Well, I was going to say about the Princess and the Frog.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because that's I can't think of like a recent one where you've pitted a bloke as the bad guy. And the protagonist is actually like Tiana's not. She's quite feminist for like.
She wants to own and run her own restaurant. What's more feminist than that? And
she's like constantly getting pushed back and by white men and all the rest of it and all. Like, and that's I can't think of another one where you've had like a female go up against a male. And we're talking about equality and like, because it's always been like, oh, you've got like the Wicked Witch and the Princess that go against each other, or you've got like Jafar and Aladdin that go against each other. So it's like male, female, female. I can't think of another time when it's been like a female lead that's been pitted against like a male kind of
antagonist.
Yeah, antagonist. It's like, so that was my other one.
Yeah, I think those are, again though, he's pretty much like, it's a Dr. Facilier or the Shadow Man, I think they call him.
Shadow Man.
But he's clearly a villain from the get-go.
He's
not a surprise. He's not a surprise.
He's not a surprise villain, but we like the fact that.
But yeah, but I get with the Incredibles too. There's a bit more kind of, because she says like the guy who is trying to bring back her brother, the guy who wants to bring back superheroes, legalize them again. He's like, if superheroes had been there and not been banned, they would have saved my parents. Whereas the sister is saying, well, why was he dependent on superheroes? Why didn't he lock himself in the panic room with my mom?
That they had.
That they could have used. But he believed in superheroes too much. He was dependent on the dependency was there. So it's interesting. It's an interesting discussion. Like, can we not solve our own problems? Usually that question comes up in Superman, where it's like, why can't you just solve all the world's problems, Superman? Who's like, well, obviously, there's economic, social, political stuff.
Too many.
Yeah, I can't.
You're all dickheads.
Yeah, I know. In Superman 4, he tosses all the nuclear weapons of the world into the sun, but nobody says, "Don't do that." Like nobody says, you know what, the structure of everything. He's like stood in the United Nations, going, "I'm just going to steal your weapons and throw them into the sun." No one has an issue with that. In the Cold War, I think so. Anyway,
probably the best solution, though.
Yeah, I mean, but then Lex Luthor creates the Nuclear Man with those lovely nails that he comes and scratches Superman with. Anyway, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. Before we go into that, I want to talk about. Let's talk about Ursula.
I love a bit of Ursula.
Ursula,
has one of the best villain songs ever.
Agreed.
An amazing song. Like literally that song, you sing that song in the shower, and like when you've got the right acoustics as well, and a sore throat like I have at the minute, and you sound like a Disney villain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Not to mention, and she's such a good character. Like, and do you know what? Like, totally takes advantage as well. Like, she knows that Ariel wants to go up, and she's in love with this bloody. Like, oh, she's seen him once.
She gives her exactly what she wants. Like this is the thing. She teaches Ariel that without a cost, you can't have what you want. So if you want a good body, you've got to go to the gym. You've got to eat right. You know, there's a cost, there's a price to something. You know, it's not free. You don't just get given everything. And she's a princess, so she has been given everything and still wants more, you know. And she wants more. She wants to collect stuff. She wants to go up to the surface world, you know. It's a really interesting. Obviously, she tries to, you know, finagle the deal a little bit. She tries to, you know, like, oh well, I'll do this. I'll steal a voice and use a voice and impersonate somebody else, hypnotize Eric and everything. But genuinely, we also don't know why she's been banished. It's never specifically said in the film. She has been banished. It's implied that she's maybe a bit gluttonous, perhaps, or that she, you know, is.
There's nothing really said about why she kind of gets back. So maybe this is part of. There's literally no kind of inkling to it, is there? So
I've done a bit of research, done a bit of digging.
Research.
Now, in the original script, she was actually Triton's sister. And this also came up in one of the novels and also was in one of the musical adaptations.
Okay.
So it's basically, I mean, Triton is the villain of the story more so than anybody else.
Yeah.
Because he's shown to be a patriarchal racist.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't like the humans, says they're all vile and savage and everything. He's like, don't go near them. Don't go out into the surface world. How dare you disobey me? I will destroy all of your belongings because you don't agree with me.
Yeah.
You know, he's awful.
He is awful.
He's awful.
He's off. He comes across as this caring kind of dad. But really, I mean, how many daughters? He's got 7 daughters, hasn't he? Like
ridiculous amount.
And all the rest of it. And what does he make them do? He makes them sing in a concert. Like, what else do they do? He's got 7 daughters. What else do they do? Like, they're literally showing all lounging about, just going, "Oh, I'm just gonna brush my hair. I'm just gonna do this." Like, very kind of like Ariel's probably the only one with a lip. Like, again, more kind of like.
She's got agency, doesn't she? She has.
Yeah, of course she. But again, is it that? Is it the teenage kind of rebellion about her? Like, because she's 16, isn't she?
Yeah.
Again, like she's very young, wants to kind of go off and explore and do things, and he's like, no. She's like, okay. And maybe Ursula's there to be like, look at all the possibilities of life. But yeah, like the fact that she.
And I
think totally see her being Triton's sister, though.
Yeah, it would work because, like he's shown to be. I think I read in one again. I've not read the novel, but I read in one of the novels that she's in that version anyway, in that timeline continuity, whatever you want to call it. She was abandoned and adopted by a human fisherman who looked after her, and then when she revealed her powers or octopus legs, arms and legs and stuff, that the village tried to kill her, killed the fisherman, and that's when Triton comes in and actually saves her from killing everybody, or saves them rather, maybe. And it reveals then that that she's his sister, only for him to then kind of squirrel her away because she looks different. She doesn't have a fish underbody.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, like we've just been saying that he's racist. He doesn't like the human race, and he doesn't like stuff that's like different and all the rest of it. So that maybe, him pushing her into a little cave to kind of squirrel her away from stuff. And then you can totally understand that she wants revenge on him if that is the case. However, I like to see it if she lost some kind of. Again, if we're kind of doing like maybe she lost war against him. There's something gone on in the past. They've definitely got beef with each other.
Oh yeah,
so the revenge thing kind of comes into it. Is she big on looks? I know she puts lipstick on and stuff.
Well, she says stuff like, "Oh, I'm literally wasting away." She does think very highly of herself. She thinks she's beautiful. She does think she's beautiful. Definitely. She's a lot.
But again, it's like then that's perfectly fine. Everyone is beautiful, so it's like fine. And but the fact that she does do the thing where she's like, I think in the song she goes, "This one's longing to be thinner. This one wants to get the girl," and she's literally making other people feel pretty.
Yeah.
Like. in like the way that they want to see themselves. That's what she's doing.
But she's quite happy in her own body, in her own, the way she looks. Like she's like, this is the way I am. This is who I am, and I'm not going to change for everybody. But do you want to change? I can do that. You don't feel particularly too happy, but I can sort that out.
We're not just talking about like massive corporations and beauty products.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's true.
Like that's essentially what they are and stuff, isn't it? It's like we're perfectly happy with the way we look, but hey, why don't you buy this £30 mascara and make yourself feel prettier?
Well, yeah,
like,
it's playing into those insecurities, and a lot of these villains have these insecurities again about age or beauty, whatever you want to call it. It's mostly those kind of two that crop up now over and over. But what I like about Ursula is she kind of owns it. She owns who she is. She knows who she is. Yeah, she can be cruel, but she's literally saying, stay within those guidelines. Give me what I want. Don't because she doesn't. She says like, if you break the deal, then you'll end up like these little seaweed kelp people that she made.
And Ariel literally signs that contract as well. Like no one forces her to do it. Like all right, there's a little, but like anything, you go somewhere and someone puts a contract in front of you, and it's
no one's going to read it.
Yeah, you don't have to agree to it. But the fact that
it's very much a deal with the devil type thing, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. But like again, 16-year-old rebels against her father, and she gets to go off and meet this Prince Eric that she wants to.
Immature, all these kind of father figures do come from like, again, they're coming from potentially a good place. They're trying to protect. I don't know what it'd be like to lose a child, but I think it'd be fucking atrocious, horrible thing, probably the worst thing that you could ever happen to you. So I get where those insecurities, those fears come from. But again, if you can't, it's like this, what they say, if you hold on to the butterfly too tight, you're going to crush it. And if if you let it, you've got to hold it loosely so it doesn't fly away type thing.
Yeah, like Titan comes into his own like towards the end, isn't it? Obviously, because Ursula is a villain. she's like doing the whole true love's kiss and three sunsets or whatever, and like obviously they come very close after Sebastian sings his Kiss the Girl song, and then she kind of like flips the table because the whole thing it's not at Ariel though, is it? It's not aimed at Ariel. The entire thing all the way through is she wants revenge, and she wants that crown, she wants that trident, so that she can rule the seas. It's like it's
the bargaining.
It's nothing personal to you. I just want to be in charge.
it's to have that one thing over on Triton, that bargaining chip, that one thing. So he gives up his power. She does get one of the most kind of violent Disney deaths as well. Gets fucking stabbed, proper stabbed.
Face that comes with it.
Yeah, like proper, like it's like even for a Disney film, you're like bloody hell.
It's very kind of...
Here's a question: like, there's rumors that Ursula was based on the drag queen Divine, who quite famously was in a John Waters film, Pink Flamingos, who was seen in that film to give a blowjob and to eat some dog shit. But that's far and beyond the point. But she's based on that. So is Ursula maybe a trans cross-dresser drag character maybe, and also she's kind of, again, we were talking about racism, she's somewhat in some continuities of something, she is from a different race of like mer people. So do we think it maybe comes from that she's, again, it's this old hag thing where it's, we're throwing them, they're unorthodox, they're wrong, they're different, they're not married, they're not with anyone, put them over there somewhere, not in part of our society.
Yeah, I think I mean, it can be seen like that, definitely. I think it's just a bit, it's weird, isn't it? Like, you have got this kind of like, she is different, she's in this little hovel, she doesn't really come out of there at all, apart from when she goes up to the top surface and all the rest of it. She's kind of like hidden away, like she doesn't even go out to like spy them. She's got like little eels go out, Flotsam and Jetsam, brilliant names. They go out and kind of do all the spying for it. Like, she's got magic though. She's obviously got powerful magic. She just doesn't. She doesn't want to be seen by society. So maybe it is that she's been shunted, and she doesn't. Maybe she doesn't want to go out. Maybe like she's fine within herself and her body, and she's fine within her home. But maybe she doesn't want to go out into society so that society can treat her differently.
Until she's in charge. Until she can change things.
Yeah, and aren't we all trying to do that? Aren't we all trying to make a little bit of change and all the rest of it? Like, And obviously, the more powerful your voice is and the more kind of respect that you have from others, the more change you can actually make. So maybe that's essentially what she is trying to do.
There you go.
Maybe.
Well, again, that's Ursula, but one of my favorites as a kid as well. Is there anybody else you want to talk? Oh, go. Yeah, sorry.
But just to go back to the Little Mermaid, because obviously, if you have got Disney Plus, there is a very good documentary on there about the Little Mermaid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't remember. It's the guy who's written and did all the songs and all the rest of it. The guy who was in charge of it. And he had AIDS at the time when he was doing this stuff. So he did this, and he started doing Aladdin.
Right.
So some of the songs that are in Aladdin are actually written by this guy. I cannot for the life of me think of his name, so that's really going to do my head in. But in the documentary, it was basically because he was gay, and he's basically saying like he saw himself as a fish out of water. So the whole kind of Little Mermaid side of it is like him wanting to break through the surface as a gay man to kind of come out, and like his whole thing was him being Ariel and stuff and getting away from like,
I can see that
place where you weren't allowed to be yourself and that kind of stuff. It's really, so if you get time and you've got Disney Plus, I definitely recommend going and watching the documentary that I cannot remember the name of.
On there, Little Mermaid something. Just go into the documentary section. It'll be in there.
Exactly. You'll definitely find it. But it's really interesting. It's a really nice thing as well. It's all about kind of the work he did in the background and stuff, but it's like some really interesting points about.
Fun fact about my dad as well. Not a fun fact, but here we go. I watched Little Mermaid so much when I was young. He thought I might be gay. No, I just really like the film, Dad.
I was watching a thing about a woman swimming around in a bra.
Yeah. Got to be gay. That's got to make me gay. But I was like, no.
It's the mermaid bit. Were you looking at Ariel or were you looking at Trial?
I mean, he's quite muscular.
He is very muscular. I could see an older man as well.
I could see a Jason Momoa. I don't think I'd be screaming like the old lady in the cinema.
There he is.
Oh, a fishy man. I love a good fishy man. Oh, fishy man. Right. Who else do we want to talk about?
Do you want to talk about Mother Gothel?
I do. I really do. Go on.
So I love Mother Gothel. The reason I like her so much. So there's the song that Mother Knows Best song, which I sometimes sing to my own mother. Not to insinuate she's in any way like Mother Gothel. Just when she comes out with some stuff, I'm like, Mother knows best. Listen to your mumsy. Because it's, again, such a really good song, a villain song.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, so like, good feminist raises a child alone with no income. As far as I am aware, like, has she got any income? Because I don't think she's got a job.
No, I think it's implied because she's quite a theatrical character and she's a good liar. It's implied that maybe she was an actress, perhaps.
Oh, maybe.
And we know how cutthroat that business is to aging women.
Oh yeah, and explain why she's so obsessed with her look.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But really good in the sense of single mother teaches that child. And in the first song, so Rapunzel knows how to sew dresses, read, paint. What else can she do? She plays guitar.
I think.
She plays guitar, sews, bakes.
Yes.
Oh, there's
everything in that first montage that she does.
Yeah,
all of that.
Everything. Yeah. So, and she's got to learn that from somewhere. Like, so she's been taught how to read and stuff to start off with. So that's
to a point, yeah.
Thing. Like, the only downfall of Mother Gothel is telling her that her birthday was on the same day as them lanterns.
I was going to say that. just make it the day after.
And if she'd have done that, then none of this would have been... Well, she probably might have wanted to go and see the lanterns, but she'd have been able to take her and be like, oh, we'll watch them from across the river, which is essentially what Flynn Rider does anyway.
And they also start doing it. They're like the first birthday that she's had since she's been missing. So it's not like she wouldn't know about them or not see it.
No. She could still see them, but like...
She could still tell her, like, 3.
To the water and just goes, we're going to watch them from here.
Absolutely. Now, I spoke to... I made this point with another feminist friend, and she said, well, she was doing that to keep the hair healthy.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, apparently that was her headcanon.
Okay.
The head continuity for that.
I feel like she was trying to just raise this child all by herself and was just like, oh,
too many questions.
In fairness, she makes
far
a
too
point
many
of it.
questions. Here's a book.
It's a book. Just go and can you go and knit something or sew something or
just piss off. Just piss off.
Just go and draw on the walls, for God's sake.
I love it.
But yeah, she teaches Rapunzel how to do all these things, and it's very kind of. I think you're right. Like that there is a character that is obsessed with looks, like, which is and like there's bits of it where she tells Rapunzel that she loves her, but she's not telling. Like there's all the emotional kind of abuse there and stuff as well.
She's looking at the hair, and when she says
constantly,
she looks at the hair when she says "I love you," because that's what she actually loves.
Yeah, because that's what she's not talking to Rapunzel, she's talking to her.
Well, it's the power.
And like makes up this whole thing that like people would be after her if they find out, and like keeping her to herself and all the other kind of stuff. Like,
I mean, she could, like you said, she could just have fritzled her, put her in a basement, locked her away, put a chain on her leg. She could have done that and just come and periodically fed her. Just keep her alive.
She did lock her in a tower, but
but again, like you said, she's
enrichment and like being able to do all this stuff, and it's just really like, and you think about it, like she is a very strong character. Again, like she's been alive for all this time and no one's really known about her, so does that push her into kind of like, is she lonely? Like she's had this child now for like 18 years, so she's got you, like I wouldn't it's like any mother really, isn't it? You don't like, oh, you've got to fly the nest but don't go too far. Like still ring me occasionally and all that kind of stuff.
I just want to know you're all right.
Yeah, it's just ringing you, just making sure you're okay.
Give me 3 rings. Do the 3 rings. Make sure you're okay.
Make sure you're home, and then pick up. And we're like, there's all that kind of like the bird fleeing the nest kind of stuff as well. Like you raise a child, it's been literally you and this child for 18 years. You can see why she'd have problems with her.
I think what I love most about Mother Gothel is the subtlety of like the line delivery and the stuff where it's like the emotional manipulation, where it's not like, oh, I'm the bad guy, that type of thing. Like, oh, I'm just doing it for you. I'm doing it for the best. It's for you. I'm doing this for.
She does say me. She's the bad guy, though.
Yeah, she does. I mean, that's what. Yeah. Oh, you're making me the bad guy. Yeah, don't make me the bad guy. And it's this real subtle, very. The writing is just superb because it's just like. Yeah. You've heard that from even if it's not your parents, you've heard those kind of the way someone can emotionally manipulate you.
And it's like a massive thing. It's like you imagine watching that and then realizing, because it is, and it can take like the littlest things to make you realize, like, shit, that's me. Like people have actually said that to me. Like, and you could literally, and I think that's a good thing about Disney at the minute is they're getting to that point of feeling like, look, this is not right.
Yeah, this is not cool.
And that's this is not right, and it's not normal, and it's like, and again, we're going into the whole kind of the more, you can sit and watch a Disney film and you can just watch the Disney film, and then you can sit and watch a Disney film and go into depth with it, like the way we have been doing, like, and I think when you do kind of, like, you look at the thing of, like, doing it, talking to her and not to her, the line delivery of it, which is just amazing, like, the bit, is it in the songs?
Oh, probably.
She says stuff like, she's like, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I joke, that type of thing.
Yeah, like I joke, and it's like, but she's not though, is it? And then
it's true.
The whole, oh, you're making me the bad guy, and like she does that thing where she asks her for, is it paints that she asks her for?
Can you bring me some paints?
She's like, oh, it's the 3 days.
Oh God, I can't believe you're asking me to do that.
I can't believe you're asking me.
Don't I give you enough? You're alive. You've got all these other things. I'm doing so much for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best written Disney villains possibly ever, because it's such a subtle, realistic, but just portrayal of somebody who is manipulative and like that. And it's again, I think it's genius, just the way.
Yeah. And you're looking at it kind of like, and Rapunzel herself is very kind of, I mean, she starts off very afraid of the world, doesn't she? Which is everyone.
But she's had that drilled into her. And again, looking at Mother Gothel in a more kind of flattering light, she's not wrong when she says, if someone found out about your power, they would lock you away.
Use it for themselves.
Exactly. Use it for their own means. She's not wrong. She is technically trying to protect her. but
even though she's done that to her.
Yeah, but she's protecting her own. She's protecting her to protect the power, basically.
Yeah, but you've got to look at it's kind of ET, isn't it? Like they find out about ET, and then everything like all hell descends and all the rest of it. It's kind of she's right in what she's saying, though, because if people did find out about what her could do, like there'd be no one to like, oh, make me feel better, like because it heals as well, doesn't it? Like Flynn cuts his hand open and all the rest of it. Like there's all that side to it. So she'd just be sat in someone else's tower trying to, like, if she was a princess in that land, she potentially could have been sat in that tower just constantly singing, making everyone feel better for the rest of her life. Like, and it's just, and so she's right. She is right in what she's saying, to be, you need to be scared of the world. Like, in fairness, like Rapunzel ends up in, like, is it the Ugly Duckling, the pub?
Oh God, I love that. That's one of my favorite bits.
This song is brilliant. I mean, obviously, you can't judge anyone. So, like, all the evil villains turn out to be lovely, lovely people that want to be mimes and musicians and all the rest of it.
Love it.
But, like, she's fully right to go in there with a frying pan and be like, holy shit, like this is just a massive, like, loads of people that look like they're gonna kill me.
I also love that the twins are called the Stabbington brothers. That's my favorite. The Stabbington brothers.
Like, but she in turn grows and becomes kind of more outgoing and more kind of like,
of course, like you can still go out in the world and experience the world, but then still be guarded at the same time. You know, not completely naive.
And like most of the things that you do, like I know, like, because obviously anxiety is, like, we've been through COVID and stuff, so anxiety and going back out into the world is like a massive thing for some people at the minute. But like, and it's weird because you can be terrified of doing it and still have to do it at the same time. Like, and we all do that. Like, I hate job interviews. Still got to do them. Like,
I never liked auditions, but it was kind of part and parcel of the acting career. I was always shit.
Be an actor and never audition for anything.
Like, oh, I forgot my lines again. Fuck, I really need to remember those. Shit.
This is it, and it's. I think that's a good thing about kind of Rapunzel, is she does show you, like, you can be scared of trying new things, but like, I mean, in fairness, she succeeds at them all, like, but it's that'd be nice to see if someone doesn't succeed at something but still has a go at it as well. Like, obviously it's not good if they fail in the movie, because
well, no, I think you do need characters that are not, you don't want the whole Mary Sue thing where they never make a mistake, they're perfect at everything. They, you know, a lot of people complained about recent live action Mulan was that she was just immediately perfect at martial arts before ever getting into battle. They didn't have the, you know, I'll make a man out of you training sequence or montage.
Oh, that song.
Yeah, what a great Disney song.
But have you heard the punk rock version of it as well? There's like a rock version of it.
I now need to, definitely.
Yes, you do. You need to. There's a whole, like, rock Disney genre where people have done covers, and they are rock covers, and they are amazing.
maybe I'll stick one in this podcast if I can find it. I'll stick a version of that. Speaking of characters that kind of learn and make mistakes along the way, let's talk about Moana.
We love Moana.
Moana is, I watched it last night. It still holds up. It's incredible. I think it's one of the best written Disney films. I think it's really progressive. But there is, spoilers, a female villain.
There is a female villain.
Yeah. And
did you see it coming the first time you watched it? Because I always
No, I actually think it is a surprise villain again, which is, again, I think is an issue. But I think within the context of this story, it actually works really well because Maui is this big, arrogant, you know, he pulled down the skies, made the islands, brought the sea.
And then literally is arrogant about it by singing the welcomes. You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You know, he's literally going, don't worry, I know what you want to say.
That's on me.
Yeah, it's okay. I did all that. Yeah, but you also ruined everything because at the start of the film, we get to see that Maui's stolen the heart of Te Fiti, who's in kind of like this earth goddess, kind of a Gaia type goddess for all the kind of, I guess, Polynesian islands. I think they're Polynesian, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not too sure where it's at.
Yeah. Tell us if we're wrong. But that kind of, in the particular story, it's just the surrounding area. It's kind of like an earth goddess. Anyway, he steals her heart, and everything starts just dying, and there's this darkness and evil that is traveling to the islands and killing everything off, basically. And Maui gets separated from his hook, his magical hook that can help him change forms, and also is separated from the heart of Te Fiti, which all the monsters and everybody wants because it is the power of creation itself. We learn throughout the film when we learn Maui took that because he was abandoned by his parents, his human parents, and the gods made him a demigod, and he wanted to give as much back to. It's kind of a Prometheus tale of giving fire, taking fire from the gods and giving it to the humans. He wanted to give them, and he just said it's never enough. And then I took that, and then it's just, this thing is like an ancient, it's just a magnet for evil, basically. And this huge thing comes out almost immediately as it takes the heart out, called Tekar, who's this kind of molten lava monster. But yeah, why don't you take it from there? Tell us a bit more about that.
But it's so good. And Tekar as a villain is such a good villain. Right. So then fast forward, and like we get baby Moana. Baby Moana, and the ocean's alive. Because why wouldn't it be? And the ocean chooses Moana. And then we've got quite a lot, really. Like, she's very kind of like, she's get pushed into this kind of like, she's got to take over the village one day, and it's how it's got to be, and all the rest of it. And she's like drawn to the ocean. And the only person that tells her it's okay is a Nan, who we love. We love her Nan. The fact that she literally calls herself.
But again, she's the old crazy lady, and she's
and she admits that. She's like, I'm allowed to be this because, like, she's the chief's mum, and she's allowed to be a crazy person.
Yeah.
Like, and I think, like, she's not even in it for that long, really, at the start, is she? But such a kind of powerful character. Love her. Absolutely love her. And then, so Moana goes on this.
This comes back to the Wigan boys protecting their grandmum, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is like, oh my God. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they came to Wigan and went, that's what we need, a Nan. And then, but Nan's the one that pushes her again. It's like, which is really good. It's like helping, kind of like girls helping girls, of being like, no, you're not stupid. And actually, it's a bit weird that there's like a cave full of giant ships that the Nan's known about, but no one else seems to. That's a bit, a little bit weird.
No,
but
don't overthink it.
no, we're not overthinking it. But like pushes her and says like, no, you can go and do this. And then obviously it's really sad because now that we were talking about this before, now that she's moved the story along to a certain point, we no longer need the Nan.
Kill her.
And
kill her dead.
And therefore she dies.
She helps move the plot along to the point where Moana is going on an adventure and instant death.
Yeah.
I was going to say the dad, who's played by Tamora Morrison, who I believe you've been watching Book of Boba Fett as well. Same dude, great guy, and I love a bit of Boba. And he's like an opposite of Triton, isn't he? So as opposed to Ariel coming into the human world, the land, he's like, don't go out on the water because my mate died. We went past the reef and he died, and that's why I don't want that to happen to you. So it's again this protective.
But that's a better version of protection. There's a reason behind the protection. Like in The Little Mermaid, you don't really know why he doesn't.
True.
My friend died because we were messing around on the sea, and I thought I was going to be this big. Like he potentially was going, I was like you when I was young, and it didn't work out for me. And obviously, them fears, you put them fears on yourself, and then therefore it kind of like transitions into your kids and all the rest of it. You get why he's kind of like, no, stay. And then grandma's just like, no, just go and have an adventure. You've got to wonder, like, if the mums were there, how many times would they be like, no, go and have an adventure?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's why most of the mums are dead.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe. But we find out right at the end that actually Tekar is Te Fiti. So Maui, even though he basically created the land, the sea, the air, all that shit, he literally caused all the problems as well. He
created a monster.
Quite literally steals Te Fiti's heart. So she is heartbroken, and she turns into this raging, grief-stricken monster. It's pure fury. And Moana understands, she gets it. And she returns the heart to Te Fiti because she knows That's not who she really is. She's not her grief, her anger, her
They've
rage.
stolen the heart from inside you.
Yeah.
Very
Here it is. Here it is back.
Yeah. Like, and she actually says that. They've stolen the heart from inside you, which is probably how it felt.
I mean, we've all had bad breakups and stuff, so it's
of course,
totally
but, like,
understandable.
you've literally stolen someone's essence, like the inside of that person.
Their happiness.
And it's not like she was doing anything like, she was literally just creating her own little islands, doing her own little thing, making sure everything was good and everything was fine. And then Maui comes along and steals her essence.
Yeah.
And what
everything she is.
Yeah.
And ruins everything.
Ruins everything. God damn it, Maui.
Bloody Maui. Bloody men. What are they like?
Bloody men. They don't understand.
Bloody men.
But yeah, and that's the whole thing again of like, it's the grief, isn't it? It's like someone has taken who you are as a person and what you stand for and all the stuff that you do, and you're gonna be grief stricken and turn into like, I mean, there's the whole like something's stolen from her and she turns into this big raging monster, but like you're gonna be like, if someone stole your shit, I'm sure you get angry as well.
Yeah.
Like,
someone, you go into you have a breakup. If we're talking in a romantic sense, stealing someone's heart, breaking someone's heart, you're bound to be a little upset and angry, or confused, or you're emotional, and again, however long that lasts is however long that lasts. But again, she recognizes that. She gives him, when she becomes Tafiti again, she gives him that kind of side eye, doesn't she? Which I love. And he's like, yeah, about that. Sorry. Sorry. No excuse. I'm a dickhead. What am I? He admits he's a dickhead. Fair enough. But he was a massive, massive dickhead.
But again, it's kind of like he was very arrogant at the start of it and all the rest of it.
He's changed.
And he changes. Not like the giant crab that's just like horrible. I think there's like a line where he says, "Did your granny tell you were special?" or something like that, which is just horrible.
But he learns to be a better person throughout. And Moana is like, he does eventually agrees. He goes, you know what? And again, going back to the dad as well, she's been groomed to be the chief. She's groomed to be the chief, not a princess, not any. She's going to be in charge. So it's not like he doesn't believe in her just because she's female. It's just like, I don't want you just going out into the sea. I don't want that. Yeah. I love you. I respect you. I think you're amazing. You're going to make a great chief someday. But just stay on the island. And it's understandable.
And you've got the whole thing though of like, if she did go, like she's the only child that they've got, so she is essentially like the heir to the throne, or the whatever it is that they sit on. So like, if she did go into the ocean and die, then that's a community without a leader, essentially. When like, this, what else are you going to do? So you can see kind of that side of it as well. I love how Moana kind of develops herself. She gets more confident as she kind of goes through.
Does, yeah. She learns more.
I like that side of it, yeah.
She grows more, and she's constantly making mistakes, which I really like. First time she goes out in the water, destroys the boat. Second time, it's turned upside down.
Nearly dies.
I will say that the sea kind of seems to help whenever it feels like it. It's just like, oh, we won't save your cockerel this time, but next time we're going to constantly save your cockerel.
Oh, we love Hey Hey is the best for doing that.
Hey is brilliant.
Oh my god, it's just when it takes the coconut head and it's like, honest, best character, one of the best side characters for a while.
Yeah, but even Maui doubts her at the start. It's like, why would they send you like a girl?
But like, she's very naive about it as well. So she goes to meet Maui. He literally sings her a song, and she's like, he's handing her stuff. And in her mind, all this stuff is like, oh, look at this amazing thing that he's handing me. And she's literally left with like rubbish.
Yeah.
At the end of the time,
manipulated into a cave and trapped in a cave.
Yeah. It's like, but that's like the whole, you are naive. You think you literally like given shit and think that it's gold when you're that young and naive and stuff. So
I love that the persistenceness of Moana, and the persistenceness of this, I think that's a word, of the sea. And yet constantly like Maui runs away and is like, no, you're coming back. Moana's coming back, even if you throw her off the boat.
It's the resilience of it more than to persistence.
Yeah, persistenceness isn't a word, I don't think. But resilience is a word.
Resilience of it. But I think like that's it's a big lesson that people need to learn nowadays. Like, I feel like it's good to be resilient, and it's like the whole thing. Like at one point, she genuinely just throws it away, and she's like, "I'm going to give up. I've had enough. What am I supposed to do? Am I on my own? I don't really know how to sail the boat." There's like
boat's broken, you know.
Yeah, and that's a constant thing that everyone's kind of having to deal with. Is you constantly questioning yourself and being like, "I'm not." There's all this like fake it till you make it. Like half the time, I feel like I've made it, and I'm still faking it, and it's been like 17 years. Like there's the whole self-doubt stuff, isn't there? And
Absolutely.
You're constantly doing it. You do have the moments where you're like, should I just pack it all in? And she does. She gets to that point where she's just like, fuck, I'm done. And then, like, obviously, you sit down, you take a breather, you have a cup of tea, eat a pie on a birthday cake if you're from Wigan, and then
that's it.
And then
job done.
You get back up, and you go and beat a giant lava monster. That's the whole fucking. That's the thing of it, isn't it? It's like you figure it out as you go in. Like no one's perfect. There's all this stuff that you're constantly going to come up against, and if like glass ceilings and all the rest of the stuff for its work and. I
love how like clumsy she is as well. Like she's constantly like flipping that oar and hitting herself in the face and pulling on the wrong rope and stuff. Again, it's just a really well-rounded character. I genuinely think it is just beautiful cinema. I
love how she cuts her hair in and put in like a bun
because it's serious time. Serious
time. Yeah. Honestly,
it's like Rambo putting on his bandana.
Exactly. Like at no point, and like we said, like a lot of films when you see girls in films and they're like constantly the hair's all like
flowing
everywhere, and I'm like, seriously, because if that was real, your hair would be in your face and I'd be dead by now. Like there's no ifs and buts. Tie your hair in a bun.
Well, Rapunzel couldn't do that.
No, but she does put it in a plait. But then that is her undoing because she gets stuck.
Yes, you're right.
God damn it.
It's her doing and her undoing.
And her undoing.
Ooh. So is there any other specific characters you'd like to talk about? Because we're already running over anyway, which I thought we might. But is there any specific characters? Because I want to ask a few more questions before we come to the end. And then I've got listener comments. So we'll just quickly go through maybe a last couple of characters if you can think of any.
Do you want to do Brave? Because you watched that last night as well, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So I was talking to Natalie about potentially bad representations of feminism from heroic or protagonist-based characters, or kind of characters that are not necessarily villainous. And I think Queen Eleanor is a good one, actually. So what do we think of Queen Eleanor?
She's very set in her ways, isn't she? Like, she's very, this is how it needs to be, and you should be married. She's very anti-feminist. Like, you should be married, get in the kitchen.
But again, she's talking about this is the way it's always been. This is tradition. For as long as we've been here, this is how we do things.
This is how we do it. And Merida is very forward thinking. Like, and I think, and it's weird to have it the other way around, isn't it?
I love it. I think it's great.
The fact that the dad is the one that's like, oh, let her go and ride horses. It's fine.
Yeah, fire arrows into the air and do what she wants. Yeah.
She's like, and is it Angus, the horse?
Think so, yeah.
Angus, I'm sure it's Angus. And he's this massive Shire horse, and he's gorgeous. And like, normally you wouldn't see like a teenage girl riding such a massive horse, and the fact that like he's obviously very powerful, and it's like, that's amazing. And she rides really well.
You know what? I never even thought of that. I never even considered the fact that it's quite, obviously quite a large horse, potentially more dangerous and stuff.
Yeah, like really dangerous. She's very kind of. That's
my male perspective, you see.
You don't even think.
I don't see things. I don't see things the way women do, and that's good.
Animal obsessed.
but that's quite enlightening, though. I like when I don't see stuff like that, and someone points that out. I go, oh, fucking hell, yeah. That's really interesting, because again, that's not what you would expect a woman to ride. You would expect a woman.
Most women would ride side saddle, and she's literally like pulling out bow and arrows. She's got like a route that she goes around. She climbs up waterfalls. Like,
speaking of hair. Just fucking mad hair as well. Like
me in the morning. People do look. Are you going to be kidding me? I literally said to you before, that's how I look now.
But again, like, and she never like, it's never like, oh, I need to become more beautiful. I do want to talk about Merida in a different context in a little while. But the fact that she doesn't straighten her hair, she didn't do any of that, and the fact that she's constrained in this dress, this very tight dress as well.
Oh, I know.
and
she can't do a bow and arrow, and then she rips it.
She
literally,
tears.
like,
I love that. The tearing the
such a good
bonds
thing.
of
Yeah.
the patriarchy and stuff. And
Yeah.
again, it's so refreshing to see a woman who has been kind of brainwashed by the patriarchy. She's like,
Yeah.
you do knitting, you do this, you make cakes, you make these speeches, you do this. And even when, you know, all the lads, all the different clans come, and the guy and the Billy Connolly's character is like, yeah, we're supposed to do a speech now or something, and she's like, right, let me fucking do it. You can't fucking speak. You're useless at this. I'll do it. And they all listen to her, like they respect her. Like it's not like they go, oh, the Queen's talking, we're not going to fucking listen. If anything, they're actually when she's turned into spoilers, when she's turned into a bear, you know, they're all going, well, we need to hear this from the Queen. We need to hear this from the Queen herself. Yeah. Like, so she holds power, she holds respect.
It's just it's weird. It's the whole. It's like you said. It's kind of like this is the way it always has been, and you're not allowed to do it any differently. And like it's nuts because you look at, and she's the one that's trying to make Merida more like
more feminine,
there's
more
a scene in it. Yeah, she's like trying to brush her hair, like flashbacks of me being a kid just pulling my face every time my mum tried to brush my hair because like I've got the thickest hair anyway. So like, I don't know. In fact, I was talking about this. It was like on a Sunday night when my mum used to dry my hair, and I used to just kick off. Because it'd take hours. I'd be like watching Heartbeat, like, oh my God.
Heartbeat.
Throwback. That's how old we are.
Wow.
But like Sunday nights were just horrendous because I felt like I'd be stood trying to get my hair dried for like 6 hours. It wasn't obviously that long, but it felt like it. And it was like, but like you see yourself in that kind of thing. And I was like, my mum, you look at, and it is, again, it's mother-daughter relationships, and your daughters are beautiful in your eyes and all the rest of it, and you try and make them like, oh, and look pretty and all, but does it matter? Like, go out and just get muddy and do what you want to do and the things that you like doing. Like, I've never been kind of massive on makeup, and there's other people that are really good at that kind of stuff, and there's men that are really good.
Yeah.
There's so many men that are better than makeup at me, and that's amazing. And it doesn't bother me.
No.
And why should it? Because it's got nothing to fucking do with me.
Absolutely.
I think that's a big part of feminism. It's like, that's that. Be who you want to be, because at the end of the day, it's not going to affect you in any way.
No, it's none of your business. Keep your nose out. You know, it's my life at the end of the day. You know,
it.
And I think
like, I'm all for a mum kind of looking out, and she's, if you want to see it in kind of like, she doesn't want Merida to end up alone in a castle, or like like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but like,
there's worse ways to live, though, isn't there?
Yeah, of course there is. Like, you've got to kind of look at, would she be left with anything? Because she's got 3 younger brothers.
Yeah,
and in that kind of like, because it doesn't go.
I think that's why they're trying to marry her off, because they can't have 3 kings. Effectively, yeah. I think that's probably another reason. I want to talk about the controversy that came with Merida becoming a Disney princess. Do you remember this? Yeah, you remember this. So when she became a quote unquote official Disney princess, you know, along with Mulan and Pocahontas and all the others, they basically made her more, I guess, sexually appealing. Would be the word. So they slimmed her down. They gave her a bigger bust, wider hips. They changed the hair a bit. She wasn't as unkempt, let's say, as she normally is. There was a huge backlash to this, obviously, because the whole idea of that film is to smash the idea of the Disney princess, the quote unquote classic traditional Disney princess.
Yeah, they gave her a sparkly dress.
Oh yeah, they did, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. It was horrendous. Like the whole, like the advertising for this film was, she isn't like our other princesses. Like she's not this kind of pretty, doe-eyed, fucking perfect in every, like, this, like her hair was, like you said, her hair was massive. She rode horses and did all the boyish stuff, and like she was very kind of, she was never intended to be this thin and like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because people are built like that and all the rest of it, but like, if you've made it in a specific way to smash through this whole kind of like, this is what we used to think princesses look like, then why would you then, after the film's been released, and it was a pretty big hit at the time as well, maybe not as much as some other, it's Pixar, and so it's like people still went watching it and stuff, and like, but yeah, like, why would you change it? Like, why would you go in for something?
None of the other characters.
Here's a film about being an original person, and then here's the doll to go with the film that we've now made prettier and with a sparkly dress on. What?
Here's another going into like I disagree with that. I remember a while back, the United Nations they sometimes make fictional characters spokespeople for the United Nations, and they made Wonder Woman a spokesperson for the United Nations, which I love that idea because she's an ambassador of peace and she's part of the United Nations in a lot of the DC continuities. What a fucking great idea. She's constantly, she pushes through peace, but she is also ready for war if comes to it. And Gal Gadot went, and the previous Wonder Woman, what's her name? Linda something. Oh, I can't remember her name, really bad now.
No.
Linda, I've got to look it up now because I'm going to feel bad if I don't. I need to Google this. I will cut this out. Oh, God. Wonder Woman.
I can't believe you're going to cut it out just so you look better.
No. Fine, I'll keep it in then. Linda Carter. There we go. Linda Carter. Sorry. I'll keep it in. So, Gal Gadot, Linda Carter were there to do the unveiling and the presentation, to make Wonder Woman part of the United Nations. What an amazing, cool character to use. Yeah. What an amazing idea. Almost all of the United Nations staff and people that are on the United Nations, including women, said, how dare you take a character that is so scantily clad and make her a spokesperson for the United Nations. So they were judging her entirely on how she was dressed, which I took a huge issue with. And I thought, why the fuck? Do you know anything about the character? That's
what society does, though, Dan.
Yeah.
We never, unless you know, like you knew the background of it, you were saying about the whole kind of like, all the stuff that kind of goes along with it. And unless you're in that world and you know them facts, like you don't think about looking at it any other way. You just see the fact that they're unveiling a half-naked woman as the thing, and it shouldn't be. It should have been all the stuff that she stood for, and like
absolutely, and like the whole idea of Wonder Woman is equality. Like equality between the sexes. That's literally the whole fucking premise and original idea of that character. She was on the first issue of, I can't remember the magazine off the top of my head, but the first feminist magazine, editorial magazine. She was on the front cover. Like, it was her. Like,
well, there you go. So
feminist icon.
A massive feminist character and all the rest of it. And I think it's very sad that like people, it's the whole judging a book by its cover as well.
Yeah.
And it's you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And the whole thing, again, we're going back to the whole kind of people judging you for what you look like, because people would have judged if she would have been looking like a hag, and people would have judged if she was half naked and pretty and looking after herself. Good example
to contrast. Do you know what was a spokesperson for the United Nations that nobody had an issue with?
Go on.
The Angry Birds. So the aggressive, angry birds were a better representation of the United Nations than Wonder Woman. United Nations, you can go and fuck off. I think Maggie Simpson was also one. I think.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, a baby?
I love it. It's like uproars about stuff. Again, though, it's like, you can't have a problem with something like Wonder Woman and not feel it. But again, and it's all, a lot of this is based on looks.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is based on looks, isn't it? Yeah, like a lot, I don't know. And for some people, there's no getting past that. There's no getting past like, oh, she looks like an absolute whore. So she must be, yeah. Like, not the fact that she saved the planet numerous times in the comic books and all that.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't like. I'm not saying Wonder Woman's been written perfectly or depicted perfectly. No. You know, they do go back to that original costume, but sometimes they do a bit more of a conservative version of it. But again, you know, it always kind of goes back to that sort of like Batman and Superman. They always kind of just go back to that original version because it's iconic, it's classic. Yeah. I get if people have an issue with it, and if some people want to dress more conservatively, you're okay to do that. And if you don't necessarily agree that Wonder Woman, you shouldn't be, but that shouldn't be the main.
What are you telling everyone? Like, if you're telling everyone, like, oh, just because they dress this way, and we're trying to get it through that you can dress however you want.
Well,
that's essentially what we're trying to get. You can dress and act however you want, and people should not have a problem with it, and people should not have an issue with it, and people should definitely not do other things about it. And like, do you know what I mean? Like the whole it goes back to this whole thing. Kind of
there's
like
a contradiction, isn't there? There's like the male, the patriarchy, the male world wants to see women with less and less clothes on, but when we do see women with less and less clothes on, be it somebody we know, love, or related to, they're like, no, don't want that. We don't want that now. So it's that fucking bullshit hypocrisy that the patriarchy has.
It's just, I don't know, it's just fucking nuts. that whole Wonder Woman thing is just fucking nuts.
It's bizarre to me, but I just wanted to mention that Merida thing. I think I've asked most of the things I want to ask, but so a lot of these characters do have a certain color scheme. So it tends to be kind of blacks and purples. So I've looked up the kind of psychology of those colors. So I'm gonna read those out because it's quite interesting. So it's like this little circular color scheme. You can Google it and find it like I did. But I just thought I'd take a look because I was like, I wonder what those colors mean like psychologically. What is it about the characters that it brings to mind? So obviously you've got a lot of like reds as well for villains as well. For example, that means strength, energy, determination, and passion, which are not necessarily negative, tropes of negative, emotional psychology indicators. But the purple, it comes under power, nobility, luxury, and ambition, where black is elegance, formality, death, and evil.
Evil.
I love wearing black. Black is the new evil.
Black is the new evil.
But I think those do come. There's a reoccurrence of those colors, and then there's a reoccurrence of that psychology in a lot of those Disney villains, like Ursula, like Maleficent, like Queen Grimhilda from Snow White, who in fact was apparently the animator based the evil queen from Snow White on all the women he'd ever known. And I was like, okay, that's a bit offensive. Also, Madame Medusa, who is the villain in The Rescuers, is based on the animator's ex-wife. Which is
funny because that's what she looks like.
Funny, but like also like, well, that's maybe a bit sexist.
No, yeah, little bit.
Pretty much, but
is his ex-wife a child beater as well? Like, did he
probably? Who knows? I don't even know anymore.
I don't know anymore. We're just too into Disney.
Yeah.
The color scheme is very interesting, especially when you look at it of kind of like, oh, let's have a look at who we've got down at the bottom.
Again, a lot of them aren't necessarily bad traits to have in a character.
No, like the purple ones where it's like power, nobility, luxury, and ambition. Like ambition's not a bad thing to have, really, is there? And then like Maleficent and the Evil Queen both were purple, so maybe they're just really ambitious. Like
they're not like nobility and luxury, again, not necessarily bad things.
No.
Power is not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, if it's used in the right way, and you're not completely like overindulging in the luxury, again, not elegance, formality, death and evil, maybe bad things.
That's probably. I mean, to be fair, like the characters that they lumped into the black one are like Ursula, and then kind of like Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which he is very evil and.
Yeah, actually, think about it. I could have watched. I think maybe I should have watched that because that's very much like he's tempted to be sexual and he's a religious man.
There's like a whole song about like
hellfire.
She will be mine or she will die. That's very fucking very.
That's only two ways you can have a woman: is have her or kill her.
Or kill her.
Apparently,
maybe in Frollo's case because he's not very likable or lovable or any of the.
I'm also not a massive fan of that film anyway. I think it's a little here and there.
Why?
I don't know. I haven't seen it for years, to be honest.
I need to watch it again.
I'll rewatch it.
it. Well, seeing as you've watched all the rest of
I've watched all the other Disney films ever made. Might as well watch that one again. But yeah, I thought it was kind of an interesting thing to look at. I'm just going to go through a few characters that I think are maybe a poor representation of feminism. But again, that's up to everyone's interpretation. I was thinking Mary Poppins. Now, a lot of people will think Mary Poppins is quite a feminist character, but there's one section of the film where I think she's not very feminist. So all these aged, struggling Victorian nannies. Well, not Victorian, is it? It's kind of the suffragette age, isn't it? So like 1900s, aren't we? They're all lining up, looking for work, struggling for money. They've got families to feed, probably large families, who knows? And they're all lining up. They're going to give their best job interview. They're going to smash it. They're going to get that job, high-paying job, bring home some money for the family. No, because a tornado comes and blows them away down the street, potentially injuring or killing them. Mary Poppins does not, like what I would consider a good feminist to do, get in the line, get up to her point to interview, do the best job she can, prove that she's the best applicant for that role, and then get the job. No, she potentially kills a lot of potential mothers out there and job seekers who are struggling, potentially starving. Who knows? Dead, injured, crippled, or dead. That's my argument for Mary Poppins.
That is very unfeminist and not very. We need to start treating each other like girls need to be nice to other girls and all the rest of stuff. On a serious point, I think sometimes feminism's biggest enemy can be other women, unfortunately. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because again, because they've been brainwashed by the patriarchy, so they think we have to pit women against each other. And it's probably in these films as well. Arguably, the patriarchy has pit, like you were saying, the women on women villain and hero or heroine characters against each other because of the patriarchy, arguably.
That's a whole thing, and girls with other girls, and you see it in every kind of day of life, don't you? You make bitchy snide comments or someone's not being nice, and it's it's weird because it's just a split reaction that you kind of have, and it's again upbringing and the way you're kind of looking at the world, and if you've seen other people do it, then you've got the whole kind of teenage years where you're in school all pitting to try and have the best boyfriend or whatever, and it's very
so you could say that there's some slut shaming going on between women and stuff like that.
There's a huge difference now. I've definitely seen it because I've got a teenage niece, and then I've got a younger niece as well, and I've it's weird because when we grew up and it was MSN era and all that kind of stuff, and Facebook was it was MySpace, wasn't it? MySpace. Kind of Jesus, now we are showing our age now. So MySpace was kind of on the thing and all the rest of it. And the comments that we used to get growing up, completely different to what they do now. The girls now are literally if you read comments underneath other girls' kind of posts, they're all very empowering,
supportive.
Oh, hot stuff, and look at you, and then commenting back going, oh, says you, and all the rest of it. It's very kind of empowering, and it's real, and it's so nice to see when you've got a world full of keyboard warriors out there that are trying to completely smash and break everyone. It's so nice to know that girls are we're at that point where we are kind of having each other's backs, no matter what. I mean, there's obviously going to still be stuff going on in the background, and it's weird, isn't it? Because
it's all right, Natalie. You can be a feminist and hate one other particular woman if you like.
Is that all right?
That's okay. That's okay. I believe that's okay. That's coming from a man on feminism. So.
I mean, it might not be. I know, but I think it's this thing, isn't it? It's I'm saying, literally all through this podcast, I feel like I've been going, just fucking be nice to people. Just fucking be.
But that's a good message.
But then also there are also people that you look at or the way that they are and you just think, God, you're a knob.
This is definitely becoming the female Angry Andy reviews now, I think.
I know, but I can't help it. There are genuinely people, and you just and I don't know whether. But the whole thing is, if they were nice, then I probably wouldn't have that problem with them. But if they're just being twats for the sake of being twats, I'm like, really?
I think you can support them as being as a feminist, but you can also hate them as a person.
Hate them as a person. I don't believe it. I don't like you or anything you stand for, but you should definitely do what you want to do.
But again, that's just, you just want people to have the opportunity and the choice and to be respected to make those choices. That's basically what it is.
Other people about
exactly,
it. Don't be a twat.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Do you want to quickly talk about Lady Tremaine or Queen Grimhilda? Because I think those again are the kind of the main ones people go to. Or do you have much to say about them?
I feel like you have. What have you got to say about them? Let's start. I always go first. You go first.
So Lady Tremaine's an interesting one because she's actually voiced by the same actress who played Maleficent as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, but I think she had throat cancer or something before she came to play Maleficent. So she sounds a bit different, probably why. But she's very interesting. Again, we don't get much of a backstory for her either.
Nope.
In the live action one, it's implied that she married for love and he died and it broke her heart. And then she became the cruel, wicked stepmother because of that, because she married again for love and then again he died. Well, seemingly for love, but also for advantage as well.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the live action version of Cinderella, actually. I think
No, it wasn't too bad. It
was all right. Obviously, she does have a cat called Lucifer, which probably doesn't help. But again,
such a great character.
Yeah, and often I was going to say Lucifer is often in modern light depicted as quite a misunderstood character, misunderstood, in various comic books or TV shows, or in the Church of Satan, for example. Lucifer is, more of a relatable, misunderstood. He was doing stuff for humans' benefit against God's wishes, type thing. So that was always interesting. But yeah, it's a tricky one with that because
she's not very likable though, is she?
No.
I think that's the whole kind of thing. And I get the kind of, you do become kind of more, if you lost someone that you were totally, utterly infatuated with. She's got 2 daughters, I'm guessing, that she had with this person.
Yeah.
You remind her of that person every day because they're going to, that's what happens when you have a child. You have sporty genes, and obviously one of them's going to look like the dad more than the other and all the rest of it. So it's kind of and you're constantly reminded of that. And then you get married again and he dies. And you just think, is it me? Am I just not meant in this world to be loved? And maybe she did really love him, and Cinderella looks the spitting image of him and has got none of Lady Tremaine in her.
No. Well, it
reminds her that actually he was in love with someone else before he was in love with me, and probably looks more like a mother. And
arguably the first one true love, arguably, and you have to kind of trying to live up to that, or to there's no replacing someone like that, and that can take an effect on somebody, and can I'll never be that person, or he'll never feel the same way about about her the way he does about me. It's a totally different type of love, a different kind of love. But it's
look at us just backing up the evil stepmother and being like, she's so misunderstood.
She's so misunderstood. She's not misunderstood. But she's very much
mean.
She's fucking atrocious. She's horrible, and she's got a horrible glare as well. That kind of
that's the evil eye.
Yeah,
it's when she first goes into the bedroom, and that's the first thing that you see is her eyes, more like Lucifer in her eyes, and it's like fucking hell.
Cutting through like piss holes in the snow, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
And she has that Gary Oldman Dracula haircut.
Yeah. Yes, she does. It's perfect as well, constantly. I don't know, it's weird. You saying about Lucifer. Lucifer is obviously a product of his upbringing. So his mum is evil, so therefore he is evil.
And the daughters are selfish and self-obsessed, and and they throw away stuff that Cinderella.
But in the same light, is she trying to go, obviously because her daughter's dad died? She's she wants to give them all these things so that they're not unhappy and all the rest of it. So she is looking out for her daughters in a sense,
trying to get them married off. So
trying to get them married off into
doesn't have to go through the same pain she's been through. Yeah,
exactly. Preferably to someone who's not going to pop the clogs.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Can we have a full health check before we get married, please?
And again, it's this whole thing of mothers are going to see their own children as beautiful, so why shouldn't they get dressed up and try and marry him to a prince? You never know, the prince might be into.
Yeah, it's possible. It's not out of the realms of possibility until the last slipper comes into the thing.
It's not fur that you should have 2 tens together. When realistically in real life doesn't happen. Someone's reaching. Someone's always punching, but let's not get into that argument.
I do see a lot of similarities to Mother Gothel, because she does give Cinderella food, board, work.
Yeah.
Doesn't ask for anything apart from that work to be fucking done. That's the only thing she asks for. But yeah, it's very much again that abuser becoming the abused, becoming the abuser, or more than likely the stepdaughters are going to be just as bad to their potential partners or daughters and what have you.
Cinderella doesn't just see the stepmom as kind of controlling.
No,
does she? because she literally wakes up in the morning and the first thing she does is complain about the clock. So she's already complaining about the king. Going, oh, that clock.
I did quite like that because they go, Cinderella never complained and never worried about work, and then the second the film starts, she's complaining.
Oh, that clock!
Oh, it's always going off. Oh, I'm so mad.
Even he tells me what to do.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, she does complain a little bit because at least she's
I mean, in fairness,
fully fledged character.
If I was Cinderella, I'd be complaining a shitload more than she does. I'd literally be walking around going, "He's fucking kidding me. What the fuck is this? I just cleaned it."
Yeah.
Which is pretty much what I do in my own fucking house now. I got fucking just cleaned it.
And again, we don't know if maybe Lady Tremaine had poor marriages and, maybe she was abused or, maybe domestic violence or something, maybe, who knows?
Someone must have been able to teach Cinderella how to clean in certain ways. She's literally down on her hands and knees scrubbing the floor. You're telling me that Tremaine didn't teach her how to do all the cleaning and stuff, which in that society, if you were married in a poorer circle, your job would be to stay at home and cook and clean and all the rest of it. So really, Cinderella is, if you're going to marry her off to a poorer person, she's preparing her for the life that she will have had anyway. Also, she's trying to marry her daughters up so that they won't have to do anything.
But my only problem with that is that if she also, like if she took her to the ball, there's 3 chances of Tremaine making some money or getting advantage from it, as opposed to 2.
Does she want it for herself though?
But she's her daughter, technically, legally. She's her daughter because she's married in. She's her guardian. So surely she would get all.
No. She doesn't want it for herself. Like Lady Tremaine doesn't really want it for herself, does she?
No, she wants it for her daughters.
She wants it for her daughters. Yeah, her daughters don't have to go through the same. And if one of her actual daughters, so if one of her actual
blood daughters,
if one of her blood daughters gets into the castle and marries the prince, then the second one is more likely to be like, well, they're related to princes and will marry higher. And then obviously Cinderella's not blood. So, and it's kind of more of, she wants her daughters to be more
advantageous.
Like putting it
have more choice, effectively, have more ability and more than she's had, which is what every parent wants their child to have, I guess, in the long run.
I mean, it's not. I don't think it's fair. Like it's not really helped people with stepchildren. Like the whole
evil stepmother thing.
That's a big kind of like Enchanted kind of did it a little bit, where they were on about evil stepmothers and stuff like that, and they were trying to say, oh no, like not all stepmothers are evil. And I think and it was a lot of like, again, back in the day when it was released, and it wasn't a norm to have a step parent.
No,
it wasn't kind of like, so to have. That's
just the classic nuclear family, wasn't it, back in the day?
Yeah, of course it was. Then to kind of have to, they're now obviously trying to change that without like the Enchanted kind of stuff.
Sure.
They kind of change that a little bit and say, oh no, like Edward's stepmother's not evil. Well, really she is, but which is like, oh no.
Absolutely.
And then she in turn becomes the stepmother. So she's like the best of the best. So it's kind of like, it didn't do well for families. And I could see if you were a stepmother going, I am not going to let my child watch Cinderella, which is fair enough. Like I could totally be on board with that one.
Yeah. I think I want to talk about just Grimhilda very briefly, and then we'll move on to some listener comments as well. So again, we're talking about the kind of different takes and the novels and these twisted tales and stuff. So in one of the versions, it's quite interesting because her father was like a mirror maker, and he never told her she was beautiful, never said she was attractive, never said anything. So this bore, this insecurity about her looks and everything.
I have read this.
Have you read it? Oh, there you go.
I have read this one.
There we go.
Now that you're mentioning it, it is coming back. Go on. You carry on.
And it turns out that apparently there's some relatives that are like witches as well and sorceress, and they give her a mirror. And apparently in the mirror, that's her father's spirit.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of undermining her confidence and her looks and bringing to the fore these insecurities, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. So in the Twisted Tales version, which is really interesting and totally advise you to read this, so as well as The Invisible Women, you might as well go and read some Twisted Tales.
Do it.
So he is just in the mirror constantly, basically telling her how crap she is, and she kind of does a Maleficent in the live action. She kind of befriends Snow White at the beginning, and like she takes her out for picnics, like, so she's absolutely besotted with the king, and he loves her. So they're literally in this, like, they want to be together. Like, he never thought he'd love again, and then he sees her and he falls in love with her, and like a lot of it is because of her beauty and all this other stuff. And like the mirror's constantly doing this thing where he's like, oh, he only likes you for your looks, and like all that kind of stuff. And yes, it's very kind of again, these other witches that are in it are kind of like, they're obviously like a run through all the tales. But yeah, she's friends with, like, she does the kind of stepmom thing and trying to have a relationship with her, and takes her to an auction, and they have a picnic and they do loads of stuff, and it's really nice. And then yeah, it's the psychological damage that the mirror has that causes her to start being like, oh, he's not gonna love me because I'm not the prettiest thing here, and like all the other kind of, it's very kind of strange the way it's done, but it's a really interesting book, and a really good kind of twist on it as well. Yeah, and then kind of that's how kind of the huntsman thing,
and everything, killing Snow White. I've also read, I was looking into the animation of the witch when she turns into the witch, which is kind of almost her inner self, what she looks like on the inside, given physical form, like she's hideous on the inside, so kind of comes out in her transformation. I read that the animators looked at a lot of like drag performances at the time, like cross-dressing, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of the mannerisms the witch has are quite masculine, and obviously in that way, you can't be beautiful and feminine if you're ugly. You're pretty much a bloke. So I quite like that I don't know if it was planned or if that was the idea, but subtly that's kind of influenced that into going, the more masculine a woman is, the less attractive she is to men, potentially. Yeah. I think it was trying to say something about that. Here's an interesting fact with, we'll talk about it in a second, but in Canto, I think it's Louisa, I want to say, is that the one with all the huge kind of muscly, super strong physique, that one? Recently, there's been, much like with Grogu and Baby Yoda, I know you're a fan of, there was a massive demand for Louisa merchandise, which Disney did not produce because they thought the girls would want Isabella toys and Isabella dolls and Isabella merchandise. But no, they're all like, nah, give me a Louisa, man. Yeah. I'm all about Louisa.
It's all about Louisa. Like, it's so nice and so refreshing to see a completely different take on the feminine form in a Disney film. Like, and it's not just Louisa, like even Maribel, like the main character. Have you seen there's like a little video of a girl and she's got glasses on and she turns to the TV.
Oh, I shared it. Yeah, I shared that.
Oh my God. And she's like, it's me. Yeah. Oh, absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But like,
beautiful.
And it's nice to get to that point where it's like, not everyone needs to be pretty. Not everyone needs to look like they've got big boobs and a tiny waist. Not everyone does look like that. And it's about goddamn time, Disney. It's so nice to see, and it's so kind of. I know we're gonna go off on one about Encanto now because
this is a long podcast already. But
I'm so sorry if everyone's bored of Disney by the end of it.
I can have as long a podcast as I want now, so I don't have to split the episodes. But even this one, I might still split.
It's just gonna be nuts, but you can't, can you? Because we're literally trying to do all of them.
We can't get. We won't go into all of them, but I think Encanto is a good one for, again, like maybe great and amazing examples of feminism, but also some poorer examples of feminism. So if you haven't seen Encanto, this is going to be spoiler territory.
Go and watch it.
Massive spoiler territory. So there's not really effectively a villain in Encanto. However, the abuela, who's the grandmother and the matriarch of the Madrigal family, is arguably anti-feminist because she's forcing the family to act in a specific way and to behave and to do these things. There's a respectful way to do things. She's also doing arranged marriages as well because that will, it'll be advantageous. Forcing
people to just look pretty and be perfect.
Exactly.
This is one of the other sisters, which is what she does, because she says, I make perfect practice poses, which is basically saying my job is to stand here and look pretty, which is not very feminist.
No, and I love Louisa's song because that's a very feminist song as well. Because
Very feminine.
because she's like I've got to hold up, I've got to stay strong, and I've got to do this balancing act, and the pressure is too much.
Amazing, but just an amazing character as well, because not only is she saying, like, her power obviously is to be strong, physically strong, but then you go into like the side, like a totally different kind of strong, because she's thinking that she's got to be psychologically strong to like deal with all the shit that's going on in the family and and the skeletons in the closet, and it's weird because as you grow, you can like the stuff that you find out about your own family as you get older. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck? And then there's like this massive, it's like a change where you potentially like become an adult, but then like your parents say stuff to you, and you're like, whoa, when did I turn into the adultier adult than you have?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And then so like and the like
I'm the
song,
I'm the mature one.
the mature one. Like you're older than me. What the hell? And it's so, and it's like the song Pressure is like a massive and a really good song.
I think it might be my favorite song in Encanto.
Yeah.
Next to the Madrigal song, I think that's grown on me a bit more because it's such a pacey song. I kind of missed a lot of it, so I've had to listen to it a few times. Obviously, we don't talk about Bruno is great and a big seller at the moment, but I don't think it's the best song in it personally. But it is good. It's still very good.
It is very good. I like everyone's kind of. I like how misunderstood Bruno is. He's like, oh, he told me my fish would die, and then it died. It's like, well, it's a fish. So
yeah, it's gonna die.
It's good. Like he told me I was gonna go bald, and I did go bald. It's like,
yeah, they don't like his predictions because they always turn out to be true. So they think he's bad luck, and so he tosses salt over his shoulder and he keeps knocking on wood because he doesn't want bad things to happen. Which I thought
bad thing, which is really good.
It's like, that's so clever that he's superstitious because all of his, I thought that was such such well written. You love, Lin-Manuel Miranda, get that name right, Miranda. And his writing is great and his music is fantastic. It's just, it's a beautiful. I cried as well. I did do a cry.
When do we not cry at Disney?
True. We cried. We both watched Coco together and we're both bawling our eyes out.
I know, but Coco in that, and it's like, you can't watch that. If you've got a grandma, you can't watch Coco without not crying. You have grandparents, don't watch it.
Arguably in that as well, there's no particular villain. Well, there is a villain technically.
Yeah, there is.
Within the family, a lot of the insecurities and the issues and you don't do this and we don't in this family we don't do that. It comes from the maternal figure, like it comes from her insecurities and her fears and her, trauma.
Isn't it weird? Realistically, like the males, the male kind of people are more kind of like, we were talking about Brave before, weren't we? And and then we talk about Coco, and the males in the family are more like, just go do what you want. It's always the women that are like, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's interesting that it's changed because that's like a recent last 10 years or so that you were seeing more supportive and less domineering fathers in Disney. I think that's just the way it is. I think obviously times change and things are written differently, and I think that is just the way of it. And I like that. I did try and think, is there, like we were talking about dead parents because they come up a lot in these Disney films, but I was trying to think, is there a film where the dad dies but the mum is still alive? And the only one I could think of was the one that came out recently, which was Onward.
That probably is the only one that I genuinely can't think of one where the dad dies, and apart from maybe Lion King.
Yeah, I think either they're both dead or the mum is dead. I think that's it. That's pretty much. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Lion King. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one where the dad dies.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
that's probably traumatized and also helped quite a lot of people over the years. His life.
Yeah, I whatever helps. If a Disney film helps, I think I've been trolling my sister by like making fun of all the Disney films, poking fun at them, and she's like, "Stop ruining Disney, you fucking twat."
Stop ruining my childhood.
Like with Hercules, I said there's a reason there wasn't a sequel, and in the myth, like Hercules is entranced by Hera, puts a spell on him, goes insane, kills Megara, Meg, and all of their 5 kids. So I was like, yeah, there's a reason that there wasn't. Also, Zeus pretends because he has a human mum in the myths, and he pretends to be her husband. So arguably, bit of rape as well.
The other thing is, though, is if you're going to get into kind of Roman god territory. There's a lot of fucked up shit there. Like, it's not very.
Zeus is the worst. Basically, he's literally the worst fucking person.
Yes,
especially in Wonder Woman, he basically kind of attempts to rape her as well in the comics as well. Yeah, she goes. Yeah, she basically gives him a lesson in consent, and he goes, "Well, fuck you then. I'll kill you." And he starts like throwing lightning bolts at her and stuff. And it's only until her mum comes out and goes, no, your son raped me. Hercules raped me.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but I'm getting into Wonder Woman myths and territory.
Oh my God.
All the myths and stuff, all the Greek myths. Yeah, all the Greek myths are a bit fucked up. I'm not going to talk about Hercules because I'm doing another podcast where we talk about that. So I won't talk about Hercules just now because we talked about it enough already.
We talked about enough.
Yeah, I think going back to Abuela, she is effectively a villain. And that line where Maribel goes, because she was born without any powers, so she's thought of as kind of a mistake, or thought of as the sad thing is she still lives in the nursery as well, because when they get their powers, they all open this door, they get a doorknob,
they get a new room,
and they get their own room, which is in line with their powers and their abilities. And she's just living in the nursery with her nephew, cousin. Cousin. Yeah. And and he's one of the best ones because she kind of brought him up a little bit,
Yeah. It's so because it's new, and we do like it is pretty new. So like if you haven't watched it,
you should have watched it by now. Yeah, please.
You should have watched it.
It's again another beautiful film by Disney.
It is a beautiful film, and I was on social media I think like a couple of weeks ago, and someone put on my social media saying, "Oh, Encanto's shit because nothing happens," and they're basically saying because there's not a villain. Like, here's a villain. Like, and obviously everyone before it came out, and there's the whole kind of they dropped "we don't talk about Bruno."
Yeah.
Like a couple of sentences from it, so everyone was like, "Oh, this Bruno's going to be a massive villain," and all the rest of it.
Exactly. Well, that's what they do. They kind of set it up like he is because he has like shadowy hood, and during we don't talk about Bruno.
The whole song is like he's 7 foot tall with rats down him. Like that's terrifying.
But also during that song, he's always in the background doing something quite like just creeping by or listen. He's even dancing to it because he's like, "Oh, this is a great tune." Like you can see him, and I thought that was really good. And again,
so good because he is, and he's like constantly, and he's like repairing. Oh, the bit where she introduces him, and he's like, "Have you been repairing the walls?" And he says, "No, it's Manuel or something." I can't remember the name of it. And then he just puts a bucket on his head, and I was like, "This is
Manuel."
I don't even think it's Manuel, but like it's weird though because like they're saying like people are saying, "Oh, there's no story, there's no villain," and it's like I think for a lot of it, obviously, Abuela's got this whole kind of it's all the psychological stuff is like very heavy at the minute, but that's the main kind of villain. And it's like you sent me a thing saying about the mum saying like because she can heal, and then someone put on saying can she deal with mental illness, and then it's like, have you met her family? No. but it's weird because you say that, and then Maribel's kind of whole thing is she brings all of this to the surface. She brings all of these mental kind of things to the surface. So as much as you can't make a room out of that, can you make a room out of that? It's her thing, not the fact that the house is getting passed down to her. And it can't because Abuela's still alive.
So in a way, her power is to heal the family.
Yeah,
to heal the bonds, the broken bonds.
Like the whole cracks in the wall thing is obviously the cracks. It's like it's the whole cracks in the family, isn't it? We were on about like Louisa being physically strong but not mentally strong to be able to kind of handle all the rest of the stuff that's going on and the pressures of the family and kind of that kind of thing, whereas Maribel kind of goes in and she and like a lot of it is just looking for acceptance in it. It's like I just want to be like,
I want to belong,
please, just be me. I just want to be me. And you were saying about like a little cousin, and a little cousin is so accepting of her, of being her, and he's not terrified the fact that he might not get a door, because if he doesn't get a door, he gets to stay with her in the nursery and all the rest of the stuff. And it's like, and that's a really nice message to be like, well, even if it doesn't
work out, you've
got a place with me.
Yeah.
But then she's got all this internal stuff going on where she's like, I don't feel like.
I'll be honest, it get really awkward when he gets to his teenage years, though, won't it?
Yeah, of course they will. But they've got a magical house, so they should be.
Of course, yeah, I guess. It's interesting to see that Abuela is obviously comes from like it's not shown. It's shown, but it's not really said what exactly happens. But there's some kind of revolution, or they're chased out of their town, and her husband dies, and the miracle occurs, the magic candle and everything. It's implied that maybe the husband is actually the house, the Le Casa Madrigal. So it's implied that intelligence is the dad, the original dad or her husband, because he's always looking after Mirabelle and doing stuff and for everybody and moving everything, and then it comes to pieces. And obviously she's coming again. It's that trauma being passed down, isn't it? It's that fear, that anxiety, that insecurity is being passed down. And the bit where she goes, you'll never be happy, will you? You'll never be happy with anything.
And that's like a massive thing. And she just calls her out on it, which is to go from there's literally a song where she's in the background going, I am part of this family. Why can you not see that I'm part of this family? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, she literally turns around and just goes, none of us, like, not even me, just none of us are going to be good enough. Like, and that's a huge thing, because you are like constantly. And I feel like it's weird because everyone goes through it. Everyone's kind of living up to these expectations, and you've got society's expectations of what you're supposed to be like, and then you've got like the whole thing like you're talking about. If we look at like how men are supposed to be and how men are supposed to act and all that kind of side of it, and then how women are supposed to act and all that kind of stuff, and you're never going to be able to fucking please everyone. And it's again
having like you were saying, having the career, having the baby, you have to make choices.
You can't do it. And it's like this massive thing of like, Jesus, I just want to be myself. I just want to do what I want to do, and I want to enjoy what I want to enjoy doing, as long as it's within the law.
Yes, and don't hurt anybody is the main thing. Don't actively try and go out and hurt people.
Yeah, and this is it. And it's like, I think a lot of people struggle with it because you've constantly got these different masks that you wear, don't you? Because you've got like, I'm with this set of friends, or I'm now with my nan, I'm got to go out with my dad.
But you're a different person. You're not necessarily like hiding yourself, but you're a different type. You're a variation of yourself. Yeah.
Of course you are, and it's hard, isn't it? And you need that time where you just like, you just need to be yourself, don't you? And whether that's you being sat in a room somewhere just going, right, I just need 30 minutes of not being anyone else. I just want to sit here. Or like with me, I will sit here, like we've been talking about Disney all afternoon. Andy's not in now for the rest of the day. Not gonna lie, probably gonna put a Disney film on. Like, who knows? I'm not gonna put Star Wars on because that's not me, but like, it's
comfort, isn't it? It's a comfort thing.
Yeah, of course it is. And it's like, I'm quite happy sitting here and doing that. And a big part of it is kind of that being accepting of yourself. And it's this huge thing of like, there's people that grow up and that are discovering that they're gay and they can't accept that part of themselves. And it's once you do, and once you kind of like, that's actually who I am. And I think Encanto goes through, you need to fucking accept that that's who you are as a person, and you might not be as good as that person over there, and you might not be 16 and competing in the Winter Olympics and doing your A levels at the same time. Like, it's
people are different, we're similar, but we are very different as well. And I think that's probably why it hit home for me as well. Like, there's obviously like, 35 years old, you should be, settling down, having kids, and being yeah, exactly. But that's the preconception, isn't it? That's the preconception.
That's society's thing of like, oh my God, you're 30 odd and you've not what? And you're not married, and you're not.
Yeah.
But society's changing. There's no way that, like, there's just so much shit going on at the minute that there's no fucking norm. No. There is no fucking norm. We've been through a pandemic. There is no norm anymore. I'm putting it out there, everybody.
Well, I saw that over Christmas. I went, my only Christmas wish is for everything to go back to normal. And I went, this is normal. This is the new normal. There's no going back. That's over. If we have to wear masks for the next 30, 40 years, it's going to happen.
It's not even that, though. It's just like dealing with the fact that you're not going to be 21 and living in your own home that you've mortgaged, that you've paid for yourself, because it's not going to, like, you've got, it's not possible. Even at 30 odd now, it's not fucking possible. You've literally got people living at home at 35. Like,
I don't blame them. I honestly don't blame them.
You can't do it. You can't rent and save up and do all the other, like, something's got to give somewhere. And realistically, if you can prove that you've been paying rent for the past 6 years, you should be able to get 100% mortgage because you've proved that you paid every single rent for that.
If anything, you're paying more renting anyway.
Exactly.
You would pay on mortgage anyway.
Something's got to give, and it's not. It's higher up where it's got to, like, we can't make it give. It's got to be kind of, the banks have got to decide, actually the housing market is ridiculous, and if you can prove that for the last 6 years you've paid rent without missing a single payment, then we will give you a 100% mortgage. That's up to them, isn't it? Like, there's not, unless I start to run the Bank of England, which in fairness I could do if I really felt like it.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do just sat here apart from complain. And then like, so that owning a house owning a house at 24 now is not normal. Getting married and then having kids is not normal.
No.
Like, you've got this massive
staying with somebody for 30, 40 years is also not normal because now we have several marriages. You've got kids from several different marriages and stuff. That's the normal.
Yeah. Again,
there is no normal. Let's be honest. There's normal's a non-word for me because everyone's normal is different.
Yeah.
You know? Your normal is different from my normal. You know, your dog's normal is different from your cat's normal. You know, normal is different for everybody. You know, when I was a kid, people said, "You're not normal." I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? What is normal?
No.
What the fuck?
The thing is, though, is when you're a kid, you kind of everyone's kind of made to be put in this like normal box, and then, like I said, you finish high school and you're like, "Oh, go and be an individual," and you don't know why the fuck to do that because you've been 16 years in school going, "What the fuck?"
Absolutely. Anyway, back to the Disney.
So much
tangent crazy.
Tangents, but this is what it does though. Is like, like okay. So we were talking about Encanto, and they would like obviously Abuela thinks that this is normal and this is how it should be. She's trying to protect the candle and the house and the magic and all the rest of the stuff. She is very kind of, because of the house, this community has been created. So I feel like she feels like I have to protect us to be able to protect them.
The community,
which is fair enough. And like Louisa's stuff is like, she says something about she knows her worth, but she feels like if she didn't have her strength, then she would be worthless. And it's not about that. And again, it's kind of accepting who you are as a person and being like, I can do this, and then I can also go off and have time to myself. And
reminds me of Thor in Endgame, where he's he's clearly in a massive depression, has been for years. He's overweight. He's not doing anything with his life, not doing anything heroic. But then he's in the past. The hammer still exists. Mjolnir still exists. And he holds out for it, and he's like he's closing his eyes, like, is it going to work? Is it going to happen? And he gets it, and he realizes that in spite of everything, he's still worthy.
Still worthy.
Which I think
that's it, isn't it? It's like a massive thing of like in Canto for me. You've got kind of very kind of say Maribel's very kind of it's not progressive feminism, isn't it? It's just being accepting of like the bit that gets me. I remember, did I tell you, like when I watched it?
Tell me again.
I watched it Christmas Eve. I watched it Christmas Eve with the kiddies. They're all like teenagers. And I was like, no, you will sit down and we will watch Disney films. God's sake. So we watched it, and the bit that got me was the bit when she was handed the doorknob.
Yeah.
Because he said, we've made this doorknob and this one's for you. And then I think Bruno says, you're the real gift, kid. And I think that was the bit that got me. And then
I'm getting teary-eyed saying it. Just talking about it. Jesus, where's it? This is just coming out of nowhere. Jesus, fucking hell.
I think that's it, and that's all anyone ever wants, is to be accepted and be like, I am a gift. I am fucking special, and I deserve to be here. And everyone else deserves to be here. And like, we've all got problems and shit, but and she is like, Maribel in herself is the best. She's always the best person that she could possibly be. Like, she never tries to be anyone else. She never tries to run around and do.
And she loves every single member of her family, and she's so supportive. And she's like that opening song where she's like, "This is my family. I love my family. Look at all these amazing things.
I'm part of the family.
This is my kind of, I'm part of this, you know." And then obviously there's the insecurity of not having a gift and all that other stuff. But there you go. Like, and I love when all the townspeople come and help rebuild, and it's just like, you've given us all these gifts. You've given us all these gifts, and we want to help you because you've given us so much and a lifestyle that we may not have ever had, and a community.
Exactly.
And it was amazing. I love that. You just, the cavalry comes in, sort of thing. It's brilliant.
The cavalry.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Like, and it's such a, I don't know, like when we first watched it, I was a bit kind of like, yeah, okay, I can see the appeal of it. And then obviously, like, because I'm a freak, I watched it again and again and again. And then you get your songs stuck in your head, so you're like, God damn it, I'm gonna have to download the soundtrack so I can get that song out of my head.
For me, it was just the once. I was like, I saw it once, I was like, I'm in love with it. Just brilliant. Just got me tears. Like I was like, again, like second half of the movie, I'm like, fucking hell, I'm just like trying to fight him back, and like it's either I let them flow or I fight them, and I'm like, because I still want to watch the film, but then I'm like, I can't see the film. I'm blind.
I like watching it more than once because I feel like you get more.
I will watch it again
from it, don't you? Yeah, like you definitely get more from it, especially like you were saying, like Bruno dancing
the little
in the
bits,
background,
those little tiny nods are really cool. The little character things, like
if you watched Tangled once, you would have never noticed that Mother Gothel constantly looks at her when she's talking to her. The more you watch it, the more you're like, hang on a minute.
Forget Frozen. I'm all about Tangled.
I know. I love Tangled. We love Tangled.
Tangled is great. But yeah, I wanted to just briefly touch on one more character that's not the best feminist, in my opinion, which is Tinkerbell.
Yeah, Tinkerbell.
Because she tries to murder Wendy.
She does try to murder
Wendy.
Well, we were talking about being nice to other girls before.
Exactly.
She's the opposite of that.
And it's that jealousy of, you've got something I don't. I want, like, to be honest, Peter's a complete arsehole anyway. Like Peter Pan is like one of the worst characters. Like not written, but you know what I mean. Like his personality and the way he acts is fucking atrocious.
He forgets about everyone, doesn't he? Forgets about.
I saw
John and Michael half the time.
Okay. She doesn't kill Tiger Lily or anything like that. Tinkerbell, but she tries to murder Wendy. She's like, "You're encroaching on my my potential felt, so you must die."
So there's the whole thing. I think the whole thing with Tinkerbell is she can only experience like one emotion at a time.
Okay.
I think that's well, in fairness, like I could probably say the same about me. When I get angry, I am very angry. Like obviously,
for me,
Andy's exactly the same.
I think for me, it's either I experience little to no emotion, or fucking all of them. Like watching Encanto or Coco, I'm like, no, these are all the emotions that are coming out now. I'm just a big watery mess. That's it. But I think we've talked long enough. I don't know if this is maybe even into 3 hours, possibly at the moment.
Wow,
potentially we can talk. But to be fair. To be fair, it's a lot to talk about in such a short space of time, and I'm glad that I've enjoyed it. If I thought it dried up, or I thought it wasn't, I thought if we'd said what we wanted to say, I'd go like, yeah, could it? But I think it's feminism is not all one thing. There's
it's not cut and dry.
No, exactly. It's whatever you consider kind of feminism to be. I might consider it, like I read some stuff by Germaine Greer back at uni, which is kind of not where I discovered feminism, but where I kind of started reading about it and stuff. And she said in that book, The Female Eunuch, I think it's called, and she said, you're not a real feminist unless you taste your own menstrual blood. So that's maybe
I'm not a real feminist then.
Perhaps not in her opinion. To be fair, she did come back later and said, I was a little bit extreme in my.
There we go.
She was like, I'm a bit, maybe not that much, but she was still a feminist. I don't know if she's still around, but yeah, she said that, and I was like, well, that's a interesting thought.
Yeah. Like you said, there's different versions of it. I'm very kind of, I'd want it to be equal. I can. You're
not asking for women to be on top necessarily or in charge.
No, of course not. Like, and I think like I can see, like I get angry about stuff, like I get raging about stuff, like especially a lot of it comes from just not being fair.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing of it is like
injustice. It's injustice.
Experiences and stuff like that. It's like we were talking about like the Sarah Everard thing and all the rest of stuff. And that makes me fume. Like you were talking about the head of the police, and she was like, jump on a bus and all that. That is the stuff that makes me rage, is the fact that it's the safety thing. More than anything, is like, why the hell can I not walk down the street and feel safe?
Safety, yeah.
Why the hell am I having to flag down a bus? Yeah. Why the hell are we not educated?
Why is there so much victim blaming? Why is it you were dressing like that, so you deserved it or something? All this horrible shit.
And it's like we were saying at the start, weren't we? Like a massive thing of this is education. Like it's education from being tiny, and it's go and educate yourselves if you feel like a thing. And it's like, it's weird, isn't it? Because like it baffles me. And I think the one thing that gets me more than anything is there's that quote where it's like, near enough every woman knows someone who has been raped, and every woman knows someone who has been sexually assaulted. If it's not, and if they've not had their own experience of it, and if not, they've been very lucky. And like, but no men go, oh yeah, I know a rapist.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Like that whole kind of thing of like.
I mean, I've had partners and friends and stuff that, you know, it's fucking shocking, you know, and it's just, it's, you know, one is too many, but I've got several friends who have, you know, female friends that have experienced something. I've had girlfriends that talk about people doing stuff to them, or they've been in abusive relationships, like, you know, violent relationships, physically violent or mentally or emotionally abusive, or gaslighting and all this other stuff, you know. You know, I've experienced a bit of gaslighting here and there, and maybe I've been the victim of some emotional abuse, but you know, women have it fucking way worse in every form of that. But yeah, it's atrocious. It shouldn't be the way it is, and that's why we need to talk about this stuff, basically.
Yeah, of course it is. Like, and you've got to bring it to the forefront. It's like, it sounds really weird. It's like walking down the street as a woman is a completely different thing to walking down the street as a man. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like, I was with me and I'm older now, 16, so my 16-year-old niece was walking, and there's people shouting stuff outside of like out the cars and stuff, and I'm like, as if this shit is like, I'm in my 30s, so I'm like, it sounds horrible. I should not be used to it. It should not be the thing that I'm like shouting abuse back at them and telling them to go fuck themselves. Like, and they're in a car, so they can't fucking hear me anyway. So, but the fact that my 16-year-old, like, she's 16, she's got a life in front of her, and she's still experiencing the same shit I did.
Shocking.
Nearly 18 years ago, when she was born and stuff, when I was 18 and all the rest of it. And that's the shit that needs to change. Like, it should not be like that. It shouldn't still fucking be like that.
I know there is, like, obviously they introduce more and more laws now that are, recently they've introduced a law where you can get 2 years for sending an unsolicited dick pic, you know, and there's laws about kind of revenge porn, they call it, when you leak nudes and things like that online. I think there's a law about catcalling now as well. So there are changes being made. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not, certainly not quick enough. Certainly not.
Again, it's kind of like, it's good that they're putting these laws in place. The better thing would be to stop it happening in the first place.
Absolutely.
Like, and it's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, someone driving past in a car. You try getting a reg of someone driving past in a car when you're walking down the other. Just doesn't happen, does it? Like,
by the time you realise they're gone anyway. So
yeah, there's just so much shit you've got to put up with, and it's not, like I said, like the biggest thing is you've got to look internal at you and the stuff that you're doing. Like,
what are you doing?
I do it all the time. You like question stuff that you do, and I'm like, there's some stuff that you can laugh about, and then you're like, oh, should I have laughed about that? And it's like calling stuff out. So like, really, should I have called out that grandma in the Aquaman film and been like, hey, don't do that? Like, I mean, I'm sat there disgusted and being like, really? But like, should I have gone over and been like, is it like the best thing for you to be? But then you cause controversy and all the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, you've got to, I think there's certain channels, you know, in certain places, be it a workplace or something like that, that maybe you can approach stuff like that gingerly, you know, you know, be it racism or sexism or whatever. There are ways and means to go about it. I think you do have to be quite cautious. Again, there can be a misunderstanding. I've been victim to a kind of a couple of misunderstandings in the past about kind of along sort of similar lines, like be it racism or sexism. And genuinely, I do not feel that way. But you know, people can take things.
Misunderstandings.
Yeah, exactly. It does happen. And I think you do have to be careful not to just like fucking blackball somebody in that regard, cancel them, if you will. In that regard, I think you can.
I think if people are willing to learn that they've done stuff right, if it's a genuine misunderstanding and people apologise, then that's absolutely fine. If it keeps happening but then there's signs of change, then that's absolutely fine. If it's a persistent thing, then that's when we need to fucking start stepping in and being like, actually, no, that's not fucking right.
If you don't listen and you are not open to change, then you're probably a complete fucking arsehole.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
It's what we're trying to say.
Complete arseholes, regardless. We've got to come to an end eventually. So before we come to an end, I do have some listener comments. So they're quite lengthy. So I'm gonna go through because people have some opinions. So I'm just gonna head over to I did a personal Facebook post, so there's a couple of people on there who said some stuff. So Damien Hockey said, when I posed the question, so are Disney antagonists a better representation of the feminist ideal than their protagonists? Which is a long, very wordy question. But it gets the gist across. So it depends on the context. Are we talking Disney's animated movies or are we talking live action remakes? Because Maleficent live action is a pure girl boss mandated Disney movie, and technically she is an antagonist.
She is. Well, she's got the title, hasn't she? Of the like, totally agree. She's the antagonist of that one. If we're talking about remakes and the live action stuff,
is she a pure girl boss?
I feel like Angelina Jolie is just pure girl boss. To be perfectly honest with you, like she pretty much brings it, doesn't she? When she
can't really argue with that.
You can't though, can you? Like, if it would have been any other actress, could you have said the same?
No, I don't think so. Another comment from my personal Facebook. It's Charlotte Laidlaw. I would agree that the OG animation movies, for example, Cruella, owns her own company, drives her own car, whereas all the princesses are all subservient and undereducated. However, the newer movies have better feminist protagonists. See Moana, Merida, Elsa, etc. This is right up my alley.
There you go. See, I think that's something that we've touched on all the way through, though, isn't it? We were saying, like, the kind of older films, they were kind of like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way that it is at the minute. And now we are getting to the kind of progressive Disney. Like you said, everything within the last 10 years has been kind of very progressive Disney kind
slowly but surely, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely getting there. And there's like, I don't know, I think like everything from maybe, we said The Princess and the Frog, Disney-wise.
Yeah, could say that,
It's been pretty progressive.
They didn't really touch princesses for a while.
No, they didn't. But
like Mulan, they made her an official Disney princess, but I know she's not technically
a
princess.
Yeah, there's that kind of side of it. But yeah, I feel like the characters are coming across a lot stronger now than what they used to be. And like you say, like back in the day, it was kind of like the evil witch because she was alone and all the rest of it. And so yeah. I feel like as we're going on, Disney's definitely getting there.
Yeah, and it's a gradual thing. It's never perfect, you know.
No, it's never going to be like the whole thing. Like obviously you like Moana and stuff, but when Moana came out, that got quite a lot of backlash and stuff because of Maui and all that kind of reason for it. And there's always going to be that case and that backlash.
Exactly. And you're never going to please everybody. End of it.
No, you're not. But I think it's because obviously it's Disney. It's aimed at children. If there's not really a lesson, but it kind of is, isn't it? There's life lessons to be had there, isn't there? If that character is good character.
Like most stories have some kind of moral, or there's a lesson to be learned, and if sometimes
otherwise it'd just be John Wick all the time.
Yeah, exactly. just shoot all the villains.
Just shoot everyone.
No talking, just shooting. But there you go. But no, there is in most good stories there is some sort of moral. Even in bloody Brave, they talk about that even if legends aren't true, you can learn something.
Yeah, they're moral, like based on absolutely. And I think
something of truth in there,
And if you want to have characters that are kind of someone that your kid looks up to, like I completely wouldn't mind my kid looking up to people like, I don't know, Merida and Moana and all these kind of newer characters. Like I don't know, like even Nani from Lilo and Stitch, she was the first character to have kind of an actual body of a woman that wasn't like thin hips, big boobs and all the rest of it. And like it's just nuts, isn't it? Like as long as you can see potential good in someone and you can look up to that person and be like, actually, I wouldn't mind my kid being more like a little bit like this person, and that's fine, that's a role model for them, then there's nothing wrong with it, really.
No, absolutely not. So moving on to the next one. So we spoke about Rhea earlier and her show Femme on Film. So she's got a lot to say. In fact, not only have I got an Instagram comment from her, I've also got some Discord messages she's left as well. So this is the Instagram comment. So Disney's female villains, quote unquote, are often a lot more interesting and complex compared to the princess figure. They often have their own agency, although conflict still arises from white patriarchal ideals. Sometimes they are only villainous because of what society expects from them/women, and if they were men, they would be more acceptable. I do think Disney are creating more complex princesses, but they are still within constraints. I really dislike the trend of trying to humanize some of the female antagonists, but only because it's not done very well.
Okay.
So I think she's talking about kind of more the live action films and stuff.
Live action ones.
So maybe like Cruella, for example, maybe.
It winds me up that they're trying to kind of humanize the villainous stuff in them, and then it's and like you said, to kind of like, and you're right, maybe if they were men, like, would it be a massive issue? I'm just trying to think back of like all the ones that we talked about.
If they wanted to do that thing. So if the evil queen, for example, just wanted to kill her, so if the evil king, say, wanted to kill his son, could he do it, or could he find a reason, and would it be like, oh yeah, that's fine, that was all right? Oh, he was a dick anyway, or oh, he was only going to take the throne from me anyway, so I might as well just kill him.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an ad on that one.
We have to really go back and look at all the ones we've. This podcast is already long enough.
We've got another 3 hours done.
No. I'm already exhausted. I'm
self-isolating. I've got all the time in the world.
I'm just lucky I haven't ended up offending you or myself or any of my lessons. I may still have. Who knows what I've said?
I was going to say, if we see a drop off in this, we know we've done something wrong.
Or we see a massive upturn, and they're like, yeah. And then they'll go, let me listen to his other stuff and go, what the fuck is this? What is Maniac Cop 2? I don't know if there's much feminism in that. Anyway, going over to Ria's Discord comments, because I did ask again, because obviously we're recording today. I was like, quickly, if you want to say something, say it now.
Yeah.
So she's still thinking about Moana. So okay. I love it, and it is so layered. The film obviously is about female empowerment, but how it affects absolutely everyone within the world. Grandma Tala being considered the crazy lady and owning it, Moana's mum learning to let Moana go, Tafiti having her power taken away by man/men/society and being coded as male when she is Te Kā. At no point do we get a single scene or line of dialogue where Chief Tui expresses how he'd rather have had a son, Moana should have been male, or that women can't take over as chieftain, or about her beauty, which a lesser film would have done. And of course, all of Moana's character and how she is allowed to be strong but also vulnerable. There's no love story. She doesn't even have to get married to be chieftain. Moana is so effing good, but she continues. There's another comment. Of course, also note, not at any point in the film, apart from Maui, when he doesn't know Moana, tells or suggests that Moana is not capable. Tui is acting out of his own fear when he won't let anyone, not just Moana, pass the reef. It has nothing to do with his belief in her capability. The only person who has to believe in herself is Moana. She has absolute agency in deciding who she is going to be and what sort of leader she wants to be. Tui realizes this, lets her lead the whole island out into the ocean before Moana is even chief. Some would say that Merida in Brave has this, but she doesn't. The people around her have to start believing in her before she does. Agency is very important in Moana.
Yeah. I think if we're looking at probably the best feminist kind of film that Disney's probably got, is probably going to be Moana. Like, it's very kind of female driven. Like your villain is a female villain, even though she's not a villain, and she's right about
it's not her fault. The villain,
it's not her fault. It's absolutely not. Like you said, like the whole kind of men taking away who she is as a person, and all the rest of the stuff, and society, and all the. Yeah, it's definitely like that's the one that's been done right, in a sense of, do you want to empower women? Here is the film that is going to do it, because it is down to her, and it's right in the same sense that it's down to all of us as women to kind of take charge of it. And you know what? Like, I can sit here and
if we learn anything, men are useless.
Men are useless, but it's not. It's not that men are useless. If you want to take charge and you want to make change, and like a lot of women feminist women now are going to end up being mothers, and mothers educate their children. And if you educate your children right, then they're not going to end up doing the same stuff that other people have done, and all of it. Like we talked about it before, about coming from like whatever background you're coming from. And if you choose to educate your children in the right kind of way, then they're going to grow up treating everyone as equals and making a difference. And whether you have girls or whether you have boys or whatever.
And unfortunately, I think the male experience is obviously different from the female experience. So, I can't speak for, a black perspective or a Chinese perspective or a Muslim perspective or a Catholic perspective, because I don't understand or know that to a degree. I've not experienced that myself. I can understand it, theoretically, but I've not lived that experience. It's the same with men and women. As much as I get on with women and I understand them to a degree, I will never know what it's like to be a woman and to have that experience of being a woman. So again, I'm not saying that men, it's not men's job to figure out feminism. It absolutely is, but also like it can be, like you said, the education needs to be there from women and from other men that are in that mindset. Speaking of feminist men, I've got another comment from my friend Tony Farina. He's from the States, and he actually studied feminist theory. So he's a teacher.
I feel like I'm going to get put in my place.
No. He doesn't. He's a feminist teacher. He does not put women in their place. But again, another lengthy one, so you're going to hear a lot of me. So here we go. I would say the biggest issue with the female Disney baddies is they are grouped into one of two categories. They are ogres, Little Mermaid and Alice in Wonderland, or they are frigid bitches, quote unquote. Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Tangled, Cruella. In both cases, body image comes into play and does a lot of the shorthand. Ursula is fat and ugly, so she is evil. The Queen of Hearts dominates everyone in size. She is big, brash, and evil. Yes, there are some overweight characters in the films that are not bad. The three fairies in Sleeping Beauty, Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast, of course. But they are older and quote-unquote helper characters who are shorter than the female lead. Also, they are not in competition with the leads. While all that is bad, the frigid bitch baddie is super bad. A bad with a cape bad. These women are, for the most part, rail thin, almost gaunt. They are obsessed with beauty. Yes, Cruella doesn't want to bang the dogs. She wants to kill them to make herself more appealing. They are clearly in competition to be the hottest person in the kingdom. They are desperate for the attention and the hotties across town, and of course the castle in some cases, have rosy cheeks and pink lips, making them totally bangable, even when they are sleeping. Ick. There is clearly some kind of sexual competition there. They are older, which is shorthand for unappealing and which is shorthand for frigid. Mother Gothel is the perfect depiction of this. She is all about retaining her youth and looking hot. When we see her true self, she is a cold, white, frigid monster.
Ooh.
That is it. That's all he has to say. He has been racking his brains. He's like, when are you recording? I need to get these thoughts down. When are you recording? So he's been desperate to get that out. So I'm really glad he took the time to write all that, and he sent it over in an email. But that was amazing. So any final thoughts on Disney villains or feminism in general?
No, I feel like we've covered it in the past, however many hours that we've been.
I think it may have been 4 hours now, or maybe 3.5. I'll let you know. I think even though I can have as long a podcast as I want, I still think I might break this one up just because it is quite long.
Just a little bit.
But again, I've enjoyed it. I think it's been good, and I don't mind how long it's been, and I'm sure you've not minded going in depth. Me and Andy's ones usually run pretty.
I was going to say yours and Andy's go on for that.
Ever. Not as long as this though. I don't think we've ever had one as long as this. But
I'm getting a world record.
You're gonna win. And Andy's gonna have to listen to all of it. You're gonna have to force him.
Yeah, he is. I'm gonna force him. That is feminism in our house. It's making Andy sit and listen.
Sit down, and you have to put the headphones on him because you don't want to hear your own voice, obviously.
Exactly. So he could be listening to anything at that point. But no. I feel like there's not. that last email was insane. Like very
Good,
true
yeah.
in everything.
All those comments have been brilliant, guys. I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to write out all those as well, and give us your opinions, because they've been excellent, really informative as well, and have informed this discussion and afterwards as well. And I hope they've informed everybody else's as well. And maybe people will talk a little bit more about Disney feminism or just feminism in general.
Woo feminism! Woo feminism!
Woo feminism! Yeah. So, but I think this has been really fascinating and really interesting to.
It's been weird to look at it from like another point of view, though, isn't it? It's like because normally you kind of sit, we watch, and we go, "Oh my god, it's a villain!" Woo!
Yeah.
And then it's actually like, well, why are they like that? Is that because of society? Is that because of like what's happening in the back? Like the whole thing. I mean, a massive thing for women is constantly about the looks and stuff. So I feel like absolutely when you're talking about like Mother Gothel and stuff, she absolutely obsessed with them, but never. Well, yeah, no, she did actually. She mentions it to Rapunzel, doesn't she? Saying, "Oh, getting kind of chubby,"
and
that kind of stuff, and like putting her down, but like never outright calls her ugly or anything like that. Never kind of goes, "Oh, well, you're ugly and I'm pretty." Like, but she's.
My father has told me the exact same things. Like putting on a bit of weight. Took a photo of me while I was looking pretty fat and sent it to my family, and I was like, "Cheers, Dad." Told me I had bad breath as well on the same day. That was nice.
Jeez, I mean, do you know what? Every parent mentions stuff about what my mum's done it before. My mum's done both. She's gone putting on a bit of weight there. And the other thing, when obviously because we were getting married before COVID hit, so I was like, I'd lost quite. I was bride ready down.
You were. You had your hair done and everything. I remember.
Bride ready.
I was there with you and Andy as they announced lockdown, and we were like, and I said to you at the time, I went, I don't think your wedding's going to happen. I hope you've got the insurance and everything. I was like,
that's it. But then, because obviously when you're getting ready to get married and you want to look like your best version of yourself and all the rest of it, and you do, like a lot of women go on diets and all the rest of it because they want to look good in the pictures.
Sure.
And I think I got to that point, and not only my mum, but Andy's mum had mentioned saying, "Yeah, but you don't want to lose any more weight." And I was like, oh, okay. So I literally have had both sides of this where I've gone, "Oh, you're getting a bit chubby and you don't want to lose any more weight at this point."
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no happy medium, is there? No one goes to me and goes, "You are the perfect weight. Well done." Like, don't do anything.
Everyone's got a fucking opinion. That's my problem.
Yeah,
everyone's judgmental. Everyone's got opinion. You don't want to be rail thin, but you don't want to be too chubby. You don't want to be this.
But I think that's why Mother Gothel has done so well in that sense of kind of like, because your parents are judgy as fuck anyway. Oh, yeah.
Luckily, my mum is on the other side of the spectrum. She's like, as long as you're happy.
Yeah, but my mum is genuinely like, I know I said because she does, and she's like a typical mum, and it's the way that she was brought up and all the rest of it. Like, but my mum is literally like one of my best friends. I can go to her and I can talk to her about absolutely anything, and I can sit and we can laugh and we can drink wine and we can cry and we can do whatever else. Like, and we can. And then there'll be days where I just want to strangle her, and I'm like, I'm going home now. Same here.
Yeah.
So like, there's all this stuff, and I think like Mother Gothel's kind of like the downside of it, the criticism side of it is done really, really well. And then like obviously she's got her own insecurities about getting old and dying and all the rest of the stuff as well. And she dies horrifically in the end. Like,
God, yeah, she does. Yeah,
it feels like that tower and turns to dust. Like, but at least, you know what? At least it's quick, because I feel like her, like, if she would have been made to spend years and years and years getting older, that would have been a more horrible death for her. So it's
potentially
really weird that it's done in like a really quick, nice way. We'll kill her off now.
You're saying, she deserves a bit of mercy then, really, there.
Yeah, like a little bit. Yeah. If that's the thing that you are scared of the most, like, and you like everyone's like, most people are scared of dying and stuff like that, and like it's terrible. Like, no one wants a long, drawn out death and stuff. So like, yeah, like if
all these villains need a bit more sympathy? Do you think?
Yeah, maybe. Like, and if that's like, maybe that is a fear of hers. Like, she found that flower at the beginning before any of this happened, and she was using that flower. She didn't tell anyone about it.
I didn't tell you this.
And they came and stole it from her.
I didn't tell you this when we were discussing Mother Gothel, but during my research, I found out she has a blood daughter.
Really?
And it's in the Tangled TV series, I think, or cartoon show or something. But she has a blood daughter as well.
No way. Oh, I'm gonna have to watch the Tangled TV series now.
Yeah, me too. Because I'd kill to have a bit more Mother Gothel anyway. So
I was gonna say.
it was all good. And do you know
maybe that's where she keeps going when she goes off, and she's like, "Oh, it's a 3-day journey." She's
Could
got
be.
family.
Could be.
Progressive.
Interesting. Dark secrets. But the woman who plays Mother Gothel is. Have you seen? You've seen Spider-Man 2, right?
Yes.
So Otto Octavius's wife is the same actress that plays Mother Gothel.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I love it when you do.
Gets all the glass in her face during that scene when everything's going wrong. It's a shame because they didn't really do much with her role, unfortunately, in that film. They're kind of like, oh, I'm in love. Oh, good. Oh, I'm helping Otto with the thing. And oh, now it's exploded and now he's got arms. And then he doesn't talk about her again.
No, he really doesn't.
She gets one of the more brutal deaths and that's it.
She gets better character in Tangled.
Absolutely. No, she absolutely nails it. And the song's one of my favorite Disney songs as well. But we're finishing. We're going to end.
We're going to stop.
We're going to start again. Before we get started again, we're going to finish. So social media wise, if you want people to contact you or let them know your opinions or let them know whether you're so wrong about Disney villains, where can they find you?
I will be on Instagram. In fairness, just send it all to Andy. And I'm sure
all the hatred. Send all the hatred
to Andy. And if you want to be nice, then come and find me on social media. Instagram. I can't remember my Instagram.
Don't worry, I'll tag it.
Thanks, Dan.
Tag it, don't worry.
I can't remember my own name at this point.
We've been that long without water, toilet breaks, food. I really need to eat. I've only really had a coffee. But no, this has been really fantastic, and I'm glad we finally sat down to do it. And let me know if you want to do anything else in the future.
Can we not wait 2 years? Well, we might have to wait 2 years. I might be a little bit busy.
Yeah, you never know. Well, you know what? We'll see what happens. Just whatever you want to do, you let me know, and we'll see what I can do to fit you in. That's the only issue I have with podcasting is I want to do all the stuff with all the people as soon as possible, but it's just not possible. So there's sometimes it can go years without having the same guests. I've had Andy on enough times. Nobody wants to hear from Andy again.
I was going to say he's going to have to do all the babysitting, and I'm going to have to do all the podcast.
Yeah, you have to do it right. You're downstairs. You're with the dog.
You're with the dog. I'm the baby. I'm going.
Keep them quiet. Keep them quiet.
Take them out. Look out.
Take them out. But yeah, no, this has been great. So I'll do all my social media links and everything. So on Facebook, it's at Secret Balls. Twitter, it's at Dan_Balls. Instagram, it's at SpiderDan Secret Balls. Like, share, comment, subscribe, etc. And don't forget to use the hashtag prepare for Prattle when you interact with us. And if you want to join the Prattalion and to be briefed in full on the Secret Balls, swing over to Prattle World at SpiderDan and thesecretballs.com. And I'd also like to thank my patrons on Patreon. I am Jack's Musings, Paul Meller, Max Byrne, Tony Farina, Scott Hodgson, Simon Cottam for their continuing donations. It is very much appreciated and helps Prattle World keep on turning. And if you ever find yourself in a position to help the podcast, please consider it. Thank you very much again, Natalie. This has been brilliant, long but good, and I think we got a lot. I got a lot off our chests.
Yeah. Better now. I feel better now.
Yeah.
What Disney film are you going watching tonight, Dan?
Ooh, maybe I could watch Hunchback. Maybe I can go with Hunchback.
Yeah.
See that.
we did Return to Oz yesterday, so I'm going to go with something a little less terrifying.